welcome to TNA Top 10 for October 20th, 2024, episode Who the Hell Knows. I'm here as always with Allison, Faye, and Andrew. How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Doing okay, a little tired.
Mhm.
They decided we're going to have soccer games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so
I
within
mean,
the...
it's not like you need to have a life, Terry. I mean, come on. This is your life now.
Oh, and let me tell you, I had a lot of slides to put together for these shows, and I finished those maybe 12 minutes ago.
That's
Nice,
that's
So
nice.
pretty
I'm sure
good.
there's plenty of human error all in that
Meh.
stuff.
It's
Our
okay.
audience is pretty forgiving. I mean, they haven't canceled us yet. You guys know that I'm going to be all the way live tonight when we get to the
Mm.
baseball segment.
I'm ready.
Allison's
We're
ready to
gonna
fight with me,
fight. I
but
can't wait.
she's ready to fight. Um, no, it's been another week. I'll give you that. But
Yeah. It's been crazy over here. I canceled my trip to Seattle because Frankie came home. So I am here and I have a week of being at work all week, like at work, which I don't usually do. So
A
mm,
whole work week
a
of work.
whole work
How
week.
dare they
I
expect
know.
that from you sometimes?
I know. It's
damn
rough.
that
It's
COVID
rough.
for teaching everybody that work from home is a real thing. That's honestly one of the lost legacies of COVID-19. And anybody
Absolutely.
you, eliminating commercial workspace, no longer needing offices, and genuinely being able to work from home. Now, even if I was in a business where I could work from home, I'm not a candidate to work from home.
No, you are not.
The dogs would need something. The music would be boring. I would need something else to occupy my mind. Yeah, it wouldn't work for me.
If you
My
thought we got a
problem
lot of,
is,
I was going to say, if we you thought we got a lot of reels now. Oh God.
Mhm.
well, my deal is I'm way too close to my kitchen if I'm working from home,
Mm.
and
Also
I'm way too
true.
close to my bed when I'm working from home.
Oh.
That yeah, that's very true.
I'll be honest, that doesn't get me. I don't find myself going back to bed. There's a plus for me though. I drink a shit ton of water when I'm home
Okay,
versus being
because
in the office.
because it's convenient.
Yep, it's easy. It's next room over.
that's
And
good.
at work, you gotta find the kitchen.
Oh,
Alex is joining us. Hey, Alex, how you doing tonight, buddy? Welcome to the
Hi.
show. Hopefully,
come
you
to,
voted
come,
for the
come.
costumes.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
Alex
Yeah.
is
Alex,
here. He's a good
awesome.
listener of ours. We
He
appreciate
is
his
excellent,
support. So
very supportive.
not like there's a bad way to listen, but he's always here. So we thank
That's
him for
right.
that.
There's probably bad ways to listen.
There probably are bad ways to, especially me. Put me on speakerphone at work. Don't actually
Oh
do that.
no.
Don't actually do that.
We are still, we've talked about it, we've threatened it. We're still due a negative top 10
We are.
where we say the worst 10 something. We have not figured that out. If you guys got any ideas for what might be the worst 10, a good solution for that, let us know because we're looking forward to it. And be nice to pair those up. We could even do like if we need to take a week off, pair up the best and the worst in a show and just put them back to back. We got
Yep.
ideas.
Speaking of the best,
What?
please read Devin's comment below. It says, "Let's go Yankees." Clap, 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 clap.
We're
clap.
not to baseball yet.
What?
Hold on
Oh,
to that.
hold on. Oh, okay. Well, look. Dad is annoyed already.
Excuse me.
Dad is annoyed already. I thought you were the producer here.
Yeah.
We got
I just have the.
rigor and we've
I,
got
I
we've got
have the
schedule
title
to
and the
meet.
pretty face. That's it.
And I have neither. But I do have
Yep.
Shohei Ohtani because we are willing it into existence.
You have a good beard when you let it grow.
This is like a 3 week beard. That's all. It's like a three
I.
week beard.
It's just fun to give you crap.
It's
Oh,
not.
you'll enjoy this, Allison.
I'm ready.
There, so I'm meeting all these soccer moms and
Oh
dads
yeah.
at practice, and I got to tell you, I noticed one of them the other day looks a lot like Jason Kelsey.
I'm sorry. What? The
So you
soccer
might want to
mom?
no.
Oh.
In today's world, that's very possible.
Woo!
And
No,
that
no,
includes
no.
your
This was
Trump
the soccer dad.
2024 ad.
Okay, who looks like Jason Kelsey?
One of the dads,
Oh.
in my
Hmm.
opinion. I'm not an
Mm.
expert on this,
Mm.
like you would be.
You have to snap a picture. Be surreptitious.
Accidentally, it's like, hey, Steve, let
Accidentally.
me take a look.
Let's
Yeah.
look.
I know I'm not the producer, but I have an irritated segment, a piss segment,
Ooh, let's go.
and it involves the president of the United States serving fries at McDonald's today. Former president, anyway, which is hilarious. Trump was actually at a McDonald's
Yep.
serving fries, and I really do hope the ice cream machine was broken so that he could tell somebody that. I'm just saying. But what annoys me, I live in a swing state. So living in a swing state in North Carolina, obviously Alabama is safe.
Oh,
Connecticut is safe, for your own respective blue and red parties. North Carolina is a little purple these days. So I'm minding my business watching the Yankees play the other night. Governor, senator, president, senator, governor, judge, dog catcher. I'm like, what the fuck is this? All the ads. I mean, we're getting I got the Hulu Live with no ads, and that is bullshit because it won't Hulu Live with no ads. I am getting all the ads for the president of the United States,
Oh man.
and the
Not
governor and the senators and whoever else. Like I said, the dog catcher, for Pete's sake. We started early voting, and apparently early voting is indicating that the quote Republicans are going to win the election. I said no. I said that shit just means they showed up on early because they don't want to stand in line on election day. What the hell is wrong with you all? So, what do we have left? 16 days of this nonsense. The whole World Series is going to be contested before the fucking election, which means I get to see all the commercials.
This is
So I don't mean to steal Allison's thunder, but I cannot tell you all how much political commercials annoy me during sporting events because what you guys know. They put them on the most watched channels. Well, what's the most watched thing going on right now? The World Series.
Yep.
Baseball,
Right.
Terry. The baseball is the most watched thing going on right now.
Before we get to the baseball, you are right. What's pissing off the producer tonight?
Well, mine has to do with the baseball. So
let's do it.
Let's go right in.
To the
Do I
base.
need to go ahead and show the playoff bracket?
Yeah,
here? Is that
yeah.
What we're doing?
Yeah,
Let me
because
do the little click button. There we go.
my pissed comes in the ALCS. So
The
Andrew,
ALCS.
yeah, AL.
Look at that right in the middle there, Allison.
Yeah,
what
it's
is
beautiful.
that?
It's a beautiful.
They're
is that?
waiting on somebody
Beautiful
to
sight.
hurry up and win something.
I would also
the-
like to note that thank goodness Andrew wasn't a jinx because we would have had words. So
Oh, I
What
bet.
about Cleveland?
yeah,
As I stated in a group chat this week, and I don't mind sharing it, and he might listen to this show, he might not. I don't care. Mutual friend of ours. You all know him, Cleveland fan. I said, objectively, the Cleveland was never going to beat the Yankees 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, or 4 out of 7. And all of a sudden, that was arrogant, and I'm arrogant, and I fit in with New Yorkers. Bitch, please. You didn't beat Cleveland all year.
He doesn't not have a point.
Oh, he does have a point because he can't get past the fact that they got beat at home and they got robbed by one Giancarlo Stanton, who is now ahead of both Babe Ruth and Aaron Judge for most playoff home runs as a Yankee.
Here's what I
And
got to say about Cleveland.
Was the ALCS MVP, Terry. He's the championship series MVP. One Giancarlo Stanton, the deciding factor of what baseball team I rooted for beginning in March of this year.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and say this now. There's no worries about Cleveland because even if they got to the World Series, they couldn't even beat the Cubs in the World Series.
That's true.
They are the one team that let the Braves win the World Series.
This
is a historically bad World Series team. So they might as well not even go.
But Terry,
Even with the name change.
did you have the opportunity? It's the Cleveland Indians. Fuck the Guardians. Did you have the opportunity to watch the way that in Game 5, Juan Soto proved he's worth $500 million?
I did not. I'm sure I was at a soccer game or something. I mean,
Top of the
or
10th.
watching football. Yeah.
Top of the 10th, he falls behind in the count, 1-2. 5 consecutive foul balls. And he hits the only fastball the guy threw, 400 and whatever feet for a 3-run homer. He was 1-2 for 5 consecutive pitches.
So how many
And-
scuffles were in that? while he was doing all this
Well,
stuff.
you can ask Allison, and it's probably in your reels. He looked the pitcher, stared the pitcher down, and said, "I got this." Like he
Oh,
was eye
nice.
fucking the
He
pitcher.
did.
The pitcher had no chance, and the minute he threw that ball in the zone, it was over. And
There was one part where he actually mouthed the words, "I'm all over it,"
yeah, I'm all.
and
And then he
yeah,
licked his lips, and he was like, and he was. I mean, when I say I fucking Terry, he was staring the pitcher down. Like you talk intimidation, there was no way. And in the same series, Judge and Giancarlo go back to back. The Yankees, if Giancarlo can stay hot and Judge gets hot, it's going to be a long series for the Dodgers because the Mets ain't winning.
you know, I'm sorry, but New Yorkers, we would love to see. At least I believe most of us would love to see a Subway Series. Yeah, I do not. I don't want to see all the best players because all we're going to hear is payroll, 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 payroll. Oh, you can buy the World Series. No, you can't. All right.
But
Oh no.
it doesn't
Uh,
matter. It doesn't matter. Hold on. You're going to hear that anyway because the Mets have a higher payroll than the New York Yankees
That's
and
true.
the Dodgers. It's Mets, Yankees, Dodgers. That's
If
your
it's
payroll.
if it's Mets and Yankees, though, the whole Subway Series thing overshadows everything. At
Yeah, well,
least
that's
what I
cool.
think.
But I want the best players in the world, and that's Otani and Judge
So does
squaring
Fox.
off 1-on-1. And I want LA and New York, and I'm not some homer for the MLB. They got plenty of money. What I want is the best matches, the best competition. As has been thematic on this show as long as we've done it. I want the very best players and the very best games possible, regardless if it's baseball, football, basketball, college playoffs. Don't care. I want the
Yeah.
very best.
But then there's one other problem. Okay. For old people like me, games in LA means 10 o'clock start time. I will never make it. I did not make it last night.
DVR.
That's
it'll be
why the
fine.
football poll went out this morning because Terry can't hang around.
I
But
hung.
I'll tell you what I look at when I look at this playoff bracket. That
Yeah.
lonely single Braves logo over there with the 0 next to it.
Aw.
And
Oh.
it feels like it was last year when they had their opportunity and got smacked around like I said they would.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
here's the other deal. The last game, Game 5, was 12-6 Mets in New York.
Mm.
This is going to be nothing but offense because the Mets and the Dodgers offense is as hot as Allison is, according to one Frank Bruno. But the deal is 18 runs in a baseball game. 18 runs. There have been series where the Yankees haven't scored 18 runs over 3 games, and you're going to put 18 runs. So, like I say, the Dodgers, the Mets. The problem with the Mets are going to have is they're down 3-2, and these last 2 are in LA, which brings us to the playoffs. If the Dodgers win, 2 in LA, 3 in New York, 2 in LA. If the Mets win, 2 in New York, 3 at Mets, 2 in New York. So
New York,
take
New
the-
York, New York.
take
2
the
in New
subway.
York, 3 in New York, 2 in New York.
But this is the 2-3-2.
Bronx and Queens. Bronx and Queens.
As we have this discussion every time we talk about the playoffs, this is 2-3-2. So bottom line is it's going to be fun. And I want the best of the best. I want Mookie Betts. I want Shohei Ohtani. I want Freddie Freeman. I want both of the Hernandez guys for the Dodgers. And I want all their pitching that they can't get through game 5 or inning 5 any more than we can. And let's go.
Good point.
Let's go. Because they don't pitch worth a shit either in LA or New York Mets. Neither one of those teams are pitching teams. And when they're patting Carlos Rodon from the Yankees for making it to inning 5 2/3, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. And by the way, on the topic of Luke Weaver giving up a home run and blowing the game, I stipulate everybody wants to make him Mariano. Well, here's the thing. Mariano was about 600 win-loss record. You know why? because when he was a starting pitcher, he fucking sucked. When they put him in the closing role, he got it done. Luke Weaver needs a good walk-up song, not Inner Sandman. And they just need to trust the process that he's going to get 5 to 6 outs every game. But Mariano Rivera, shitty starting pitcher, greatest closer in the history of baseball. Get away from me.
So you mentioned the game that the Yankees lost. Well, that was on Thursday, right?
Yeah, first they take the lead, and then they blow the lead. After Clase blows the lead, Weaver blew the lead.
And then Hulu went down for everybody. And anybody who was watching on Hulu Live couldn't watch the end of the game. Am I correct, Mr. Andrew? Because weren't you one of those people?
Yeah, I had to listen to the shit on ESPN Plus, and I was not happy about not being able to watch Shohei Ohtani do his thing.
Yep.
I'm not a Dodgers fan. I'm an Ohtani fan. The fact that he is such a fucking menace, he gets on base and he's going to steal it, or he's going to blast a home run 450 feet, or he's going to encourage the guy on second or third to try to steal and almost get caught. That's what I said. The man is a menace. But he's probably the best player in baseball because he can pitch too. That makes him the best player in the world. Not the hitting.
Fair.
Because Judge has every offensive number with the exception of the stolen bases are greater than Ohtani's.
Yep. I agree.
But when he starts pitching again, that's going to be scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And if you're not watching the game, the Mets are up 1-0.
Okay, I'm not up yet. I'm not watching it. I really hope that Hulu has their shit together by the time the World Series starts, because I will tell you right now, I don't use it, but I could not imagine losing the feed in the 10th inning ever. I would lose it.
I get on the show and talk shit and cuss and all that stuff. People think that's how I watch sports. Allison can confirm when we were at the SEC championship game, Alabama, Georgia, I sit there with my arms crossed.
Correct.
And make audible congratulations when it matters. Never cuss at the refs, never challenge the fans. Hulu had me motherfucking the hell on TV the other day.
Well, let me set the stage. Similarly, 92 Sugar Bowl, Alabama and Miami. You remember when Alabama just whipped them
for the national championship?
Yeah, our cable went out.
Oh no!
So we were struggling, and my dad is watching this through like snow. Oh yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
in Alabama.
Yeah, I bet that's damn near riot. If the cable goes out, Terry, Alabama's playing for a national
championship. Well, this was back when cable was a little box and we had 20 channels and you had a little clicky thing.
Well, I mean, I could tell you my brother watched this through Hulu Live and he was saying some choice words. So, yeah, not a good thing. So, what about wrestling this week?
Did anything happen in wrestling?
Oh, man.
Terry's all over the control.
Terry's all over the place.
All over the Hey, Terry.
Pushing the glass away.
Because our audience wants to know. Did you watch any wrestling this week?
No, I watched some football. I watched some baseball. I watched a lot of soccer. There's no room for wrestling right now.
I honestly knew that you didn't watch any wrestling. Are we starting with AEW or WWE, ma'am?
Doesn't matter. I fell asleep halfway through both of them. So, I mean,
God bless
I am
you.
such an old person. It is ridiculous.
Well, they had a tape show on Raw. You could tell it was taped. It was a little bit flat.
Well, one of the things I've been hearing is that they are lowering the crowd noise. Did you hear this?
For baseball? Or are we talking about wrestling?
For wrestling.
They could be lowering the crowd noise.
Out the crowd noise. Huh?
They are. Okay. That's what's happening now. It's happening more and more because somebody sent I was watching the TV feed and then they sent their feed and it was insane, the difference. So, anyway, it was just something I noticed.
That's crazy.
I never noticed, by the way, Devin Dowling, not to jump on baseball, that Dreamweaver is Luke's walk up. That's stupid. He needs a better song. Get away from me. Needs a better
My
song.
fantasy football team name, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Wrestling in the WWE again occupied by the Bloodline. We saw Roman approach Jay rather this week. Jimmy involved. No. Well, guess what? SmackDown is in Brooklyn next week. Guess who lives in Scarsdale, New York?
It better be Paul Heyman.
The wise man.
Thank goodness.
The only
there was
person,
a lot of there was a lot of teasing him this week.
The only person that can broker the peace between the Usos.
Yeah.
So I expect to see Paul back. It's been what, 4, 5, 6 months?
It's been since April, right?
Since we've seen Heyman. After WrestleMania anyway,
Yeah.
for sure. So just in time for Survivor Series and all that. And then, of course, the blood money they're going to get from Saudi Arabia. But that is what it is. But yeah, Brooklyn, going to be a big show.
That's good. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge show because obviously, like I say, they're teasing this no. He's going to say yes. Spoiler alert for anybody that's been watching wrestling a long time. Jey Uso is going to join the original bloodline for Survivor Series. It's just a matter of how they get there, and this is a great way to bring Heyman back into the fold, even if it's only for this one-off deal, because he's been behind the scenes. I mean, he's been at wrestling every week, but he's the guy helping produce behind the scenes. Oh, interesting, just for anybody who didn't see it, I didn't put it on the notes, Terry, but this is a Rolling Stone magazine, has 6 former WWE writers that they interviewed that talk about what a horrible workplace the creative room is at the WWE.
Oh, wow.
So more Vince McMahon looking like shit after not only the lawsuit, but the documentary. And this is another follow-up. So, anyway, and
if you are interested in that, just a plug for the Brian Gerwitz book.
Oh yeah,
I read that about a year ago, I guess, and that was very good for anybody interested in that.
Do you have a hard copy of it?
No, I read it by listening.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I will take that from you.
Yeah,
making me put the truth out there. I said read. You can leave
it. It counts. Audiobooks count. Okay, they count. All right, so it doesn't sound like anything really exciting happened on WWE this week.
Well,
I watched oh no, wait! There was one thing I watched that I was excited about because I used to make fun of Alex Shelley, so I am really excited to see Motor City Machine Guns be back.
They're great.
So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, they're great. The Motor City Machine Guns probably 10 years too late in the WWE, if not more. That's the only unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
I wish that they had found them a way to use them earlier, I guess is the way I'm trying to say it.
Yeah.
And this poor bastard Otani's batting now, and Maneo doesn't know what to do. That was an interesting point too. They say that all these pitchers don't have anything left that the batters haven't seen because they're that good.
True.
That's a very interesting statement. But anyway.
Anything else on wrestling? On WWE? We can move to AEW.
I'm a little distracted because my
you're
man
very
just
distracted.
Got a single. I was looking for this. I was looking for Bruno says Mariano in the 04 ALCS was amazing. I'm going to have to look into that. But he was not a great starting pitcher in most of his career. He was a better closer.
In the 04 ALCS? Didn't the Red Sox win the 04?
Against Boston,
ALCS?
yeah. They beat him 4-3. Boston roared back. I think were they down 3-0?
Let's not talk about it. Let's just move on. Next,
yeah, like the only time that's ever happened.
Let's talk to the next. Let's go to the next segment, please. Thank you.
What, the fact that Jon Moxley's acting crazy on AEW and is running the show?
Yeah.
Look, Terry, I finally got something that you're gonna like. The Blackpool Combat Club is beating everybody up. Yeah. But they got 200 people on the roster, and a lot of them are trios that you love so much, the multi-man. So now they're just using them and beating them up. They beat up Top Flight. They beat up Dark Order. This is all on Wednesday, by the way.
So
Then
18 members and beating everybody up.
And then beating, then it gets better because they beat them up in the first segment of the show and they beat them up in the last segment of the show. So beating them up once wasn't enough. They had to beat them up again. And then you end up with Hangman and Jay White. That's going to be a great series. It's going to be a great series.
So Devin has a great comment here. Collision only had 2,600 people at it. Do you guys think the decline in attendance will hurt AEW's morale behind the scenes, or do you think they'll use it as motivation for the future? So I think we've said this before. It doesn't matter for their house shows how many people they get. It's about the views on TV. Now, unfortunately, those are suffering as well. But I don't think it's going to really hurt the morale. Those guys are making bank and they're happy.
This is a rough time for any program to be on Saturday because we're going to get to it in hour 2 of this show. There was a hella good football game on at the same time that Collision was on.
Yeah.
Devin, I am of a different opinion than Allison in a little bit. She's correct. They don't care about attendance. They're locked in. They get $185 million no matter how many people watch the show. It's guaranteed for the next 3 years with the 4-tier option. The only time that's going to matter is the 4-tier option. So like we're talking about Juan Soto, seven attempted strikes, and he gets the home run. That gives them a reason to sign $500 million. My point about AEW is until the 3rd year, the ratings really don't matter because the option is not up yet. They're locked in for 185 for the next 3. Here's the bad thing, though. If you're a professional wrestler, and let's say you're a former WWE professional wrestler, and they got a bunch of them over there, and you're used to seeing a lot fuller arenas, and you walk out and you see black tarp everywhere, yes, I could see where that would be really demoralizing. But I don't know. I mean, they're all artists, athletes. They can do their thing. I just don't believe that I don't believe that Tony Khan cares about attendance. And that's the problem where WWE is the gold standard, is they're checking boxes: attendance, merchandise, contracts, streaming, huge deals, and everyone says, well, AEW is a startup company. Bitch, you've been around 5 years.
But how's the video game going?
200 people on the you got 200 people on the roster. That's mismanagement of resources. That's your fault. You're a bad boss for not knowing that it's okay to not hire that person and put them on television. Oh, and then not use somebody for 90 days. By the way, Adam Cole returned. We're going to get him at least another year based on the injury clause in the contract. God bless America. So there's that. But he's going against MJF, Terry. But they're not doing it. Not over a devil mask, though. Not a devil mask, though.
When you said former WWE wrestlers in AEW, it did remind me, I did see a little bit of wrestling this week. Somehow, I turned it over when Shelton Benjamin was walking to the ring.
What a badass. 50 years old or not, he still can go.
Absolutely.
And poor Leo Rush got eaten up. Oh, and his next opponent, Sammy Guevara. So Mercedes must not be at TV this week. But, dun-dun-dun.
All right.
Yeah,
what do you guys say?
They will, Devin. They're all HBK and Triple H guys. The Undisputed Era will be back in WWE because, quite frankly, it's trash. Absolute trash in AEW. So, but they don't know how to use people over there. They know how to use people for 3 weeks.
So what's the expectation of
they've been good with Hangman. With what, Terry? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, the future of AEW. So, we have promotions that come around and they go. But then we have something like TNA that's been around forever.
Yeah.
That's not really that much, but it's had staying power. I mean, is AEW going to end up eventually being kind of like TNA?
So go ahead, Allison.
All I'm going to say is competition.
TNA, not T and A, like we are.
Competition breeds money. So I think it's almost a necessary evil at this point.
It's a passion project for Tony Khan, and as long as he chooses to put money in it, it's going to exist. He
Well, that
has
does help.
he has no business running a professional wrestling company. And if he's such an astute businessman, I would hate to see the books on both his soccer and football team. Although the Jaguars did win today against the Patriots. Sorry to our buddy Anthony Pyrus.
So I'm going to say this, and I know Tony Khan, whatever, bad rap, everything. Every show I've been to, no matter how big, how small, Tony Khan comes out.
Yeah.
Every single show. So to me,
Really excited every time.
yes. And you know what? Think about that. He is on the road with his wrestlers.
He loves it.
He does, but to me, so where we were talking about the morale being taken away by the tarped off seats, you've got to imagine he's got some kind of motivational thing going on with the wrestlers. That's at least what I think.
I don't care, Bober. That was my joke. I don't care. If Mercedes and Sammy are in the same building or not, I absolutely don't care. I'm gonna make that joke every time. So does not bother me. Sammy Guevara, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion on AEW Dynamite, wrestling Shelton Benjamin for whatever reason. So there you go. Tell me it makes sense. So they're doing well with the Blackpool Combat Club. The Elite are a bunch of chicken shits. We saw that on Wednesday. That's fine, whatever. The Young Bucks, to Devin's point, there is a point where you're too smart. You're too inside baseball. Vince Russo did this in WCW in 2000, where he had Creative Control as the name of the Ron and Don Harris tag team, the powers that be, the whole idea of Booker having Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett do the laydown finish you guys talked about on the Ram Network, Terry with Dave and the HSV. Damn Bober, so he can get concussed again. Good Lord. But he'll flip-flop and fly for Shelton Benjamin and make Shelton Benjamin look like $1 million as if the guy doesn't need any help.
Yeah, Devin says Sammy's fighting Shelton the same reason he fought Ricochet a few weeks ago. It looks fun.
Yeah, there's no business sense there.
Yeah,
that's what I was getting at. There's no intentionality there. This looks fun. Like he said, we got 200 wrestlers on the roster. I've got all their pictures. Shelton Benjamin's my new toy. Let's be honest. That's what it is. Who can we get a good match with him from? Just like Ricochet is going to be or did wrestle AR Fox, but he was just in a title match with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. And he's wrestling AR Fox. So,
I do know.
Anyway, I have ranted about AEW long enough without being like Jim Cornette. So,
well, here's a thought I had. So, we are always, especially with our buddy JD Hoop, designing a lot of the stuff. We're impressed with a lot of the outfits and the gear that a lot of these wrestlers wear. And another word for some of these things might be costume. And speaking of costume, it's October and we're going to talk about Halloween.
A transition, Terry.
Oh, Top 10. He's getting better. He's getting better.
So good.
Halloween costumes. Oh, by the way, update on the score. 2-1. Hernandez is at bat. 2 outs, 2 and 2 count.
Who's got the 2?
Of course, the Dodgers.
Okay.
They're in LA. This is going to LA on Friday night. Anyway, Terry. Oh, go ahead, Allison.
No, I was just gonna say that my tagline here always makes me laugh because I was reading every costume in the poll, going sexy cat, sexy astronaut, sexy witch. I'm like, yep, all these work. By the way, we missed French maid.
Could put naughty in front of them,
about it. And
naughty nurse, naughty maid, naughty schoolgirl, naughty teacher.
I made myself a French maid costume one year, and it was really good.
Just to let you know, this is the most...
Frankie will be requesting you to bring that back. This is the most what, Terry?
This is the most I've had to think about what pictures to put on.
This is a good picture. This is great.
Well, this one is great. Yeah, the AI picture that I got for the really cool costumes is great. But when I say the individuals... Credit to Amazon because I went to Amazon.com and just did a search for Halloween costumes. And that's the pictures that we used. Anyway.
I would like that astronaut costume, please. So
that is a nice one.
That's a great one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
Actually, so is the witch one. So,
Can't hide money.
Nope.
That's what that
Number
costume
10
says.
is Ghost, and here we go with the classic Ghost costume.
I could have given you one of Lex's pictures one year. He wanted to go as a ghost.
A sheet with some
That's it.
eyes.
All I
and
did was cut
that's all
holes.
you need. You don't need
That's it.
anything fancy.
Nope.
Yeah.
Now this is want to
This
talk
is
about
not-
lazy costume.
I was
This
just gonna
is
say.
lazy costume here.
This is not one that's usually chosen by adults. This is crap, I forgot you need a costume for the school parade or something.
Correct.
Yes.
No, this is fine, but the functionality is not great on these eye holes. And then, of course, Halloween in at least Connecticut and Nebraska, where I grew up, New York, where you grew up, Allison, it is already cold October 31st.
This is okay for that because you could be bundled up under the ghost, under the sheet.
Only if the sheet is long enough and apappropriately done.
Oh, you're not nude under the sheet?
Oh my God, no!
So
God,
That's only
Terry.
that's
You
only what
remember-
Frank gets.
do you do you remember those thick plastic masks that we
Yes!
had in the 80s?
I got my parents saved 2 of them, and one of them I have. It's a Hulk Hogan one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so throw it back to 2021, 2020 maybe. I don't know. When we first joined the wrestling group, the thing, this is funny. The thing that brought me in, we had a Zoom. The first Zoom I ever went to was a Halloween Zoom, and I bought an Andre the Giant mask. And I got like this black thing, and I cut one of the straps
Oh
off.
my
So
God.
I was like bare chest with a black strap thing with a Andre the Giant mask.
That is so good.
I don't
Did you
think there's
win?
pictures. Oh, I did not win. It was crazy. I mean, there were a lot of complaints about that Zoom. They had that bunker down.
Alrighty then. Did
Yeah.
anybody show up as a ghost?
I don't remember. It's been a while, but yeah. Number 9, schoolgirl.
Oh Lord, really, Terry?
And let me tell you, hey, you go look for anything but this for a schoolgirl costume. So this
No,
is
you're not wrong.
because there's not another kind of schoolgirl costume out there.
That a thumbnail off Pornhub, Terry? I'm just
This
asking.
is Amazon.com.
Oh,
Thank you.
Lord.
Like I said, you don't even see her eyes.
I mean, I went to Catholic school, so I get the whole uniform thing, and yeah. All right.
And
It
again,
is what it is.
naughty can be added.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
100%.
So,
Yeah,
Oh
Good
yeah.
one.
So you said, "Come on, Terry," and you got and look at what your says under your name.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
You're looking for a man.
thank you.
Okay.
give me
Well, I'm
Shohei
the
is
one
what
in
mine
control,
says.
So that ain't.
I'm the
not
only
showing up.
I'm the only good person here. I want to mention real quick before we jump to the next one. And I am never the good person here. Devin says next Sunday is my little brother's 4-H Halloween party.
Ooh.
This is a thing. Like
Mhm.
I've lived here in North Carolina 14 years. Kids don't come door to door.
Not
It's
anymore.
it's the local businesses doing trunk or treat, the gyms,
Mhm.
the church,
Yeah.
the schools.
Mhm.
They don't come door to door.
Nope.
I've made the statement because it's not a joke that is it the advent of To Catch a Predator and
Yes.
the awareness of child molesters and child trafficking and all that stuff, because this is how it worked in Western Nebraska when it was Halloween for us. Okay, it's starting to get dark.
Bye.
Bye. And mom and dad
Yeah.
didn't even go with us. Like it was
Nope.
just like bye. And you ran the neighborhood with 100 other kids
And you took like a pillowcase and
till
filled
you
it up
couldn't
with
carry the
candy.
damn pillowcase no more. And then they came home and they had to sort your candy and make sure
With
that
the
it was
razor
all
blade
good.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
razor
And
blade.
steal their
And
favorites.
steal their favorites because that's really what that was
And
about.
separate them out on the carpet.
But we
I'll
don't.
tell you,
They don't
it's
do
one of the
Halloween like that
joys.
anymore. And
it's
that's
one
why.
of the joys of being a parent is that you get to steal your kids' Halloween candy.
So the first or second Halloween I lived here, I bought a big ass thing of candy for the kids. No trick or treaters came to the door. Not one.
So
Not
you end up
one.
eating it for like 2
So I didn't know. I didn't know that it wasn't a thing.
It's
but-
not. It's over.
But we still dress up in the costumes like number 8.
Number 8 is Harry Potter. So I took a
Oh.
I
collection of
voted
Harry
for this
Potter
one because
cards.
Harry Potter, like Terry probably put in the poll, so everybody can confirm. This is a multitude of costumes
Correct.
that you can pick out of the Harry Potter universe.
Yes.
And for those
So, not
groups
just
like
one.
that, I did try to select multiple. on
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
You did a
Yeah.
good job. Yeah, this is an easy costume. It's functional. You can accessorize very easily. I think this is great.
Quick question, because apparently Devin says my house gets like 200 plus kids. Is that historical? Is that
My
tradition?
goodness.
Because, like, I'm telling you,
Well,
we can turn the lights on. We can put a candy here sign in the yard. You ain't gonna get nobody coming to the house here in Eastern North Carolina.
Dave is bringing that joke with him wherever he goes in October.
he says
Well,
I
it's-
go as a period. I show up late and make everyone nervous.
It's because he's old and has nothing else to hang
He
on to. It's
forgot
the
that
only
he
joke
already
he
told us
remembers.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
Welcome
Alex
to the
says
show on
we
Water.
still get a lot of trick or treaters in my small town. The town next to us allows kids to even TP to trees on Halloween.
wow, no.
Oh,
Good for
wow.
them.
That's
Good
like
for
me
them.
buying moonshine at the store. They allow it.
Not real moonshine if you don't wipe the cobwebs off it, Terry. That's
That's
all I'm
right.
saying. You gotta.
It's even got a
it's good.
government label on it.
Oh my
Lord.
God! What is number 7?
Number 7 is Disney characters,
Yeah,
and this
I
includes
mean-
all the princesses, Mickey, Goofy, whatever.
I definitely went as a Mickey character. I went as Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White or maybe it was just Snow White and Cinderella. I had the dresses from Disney World.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. What did I went as a pirate one time, a ninja turtle,
I did
well, which
that.
we haven't got there yet, but a ninja turtle. I was
I went as a
Raphael.
half man, half woman one time.
My brother went as a hula girl one year and won the contest.
Terry, we just called that
It was
Monday.
a little different in the 80s than it is now.
Allison Go as Naughty Minnie with a bow and everything, Frank, just for you.
I did dress up once as Donald Duck with like one of those big costumes, like a professional costume. I did it for a
Wow.
kid's Halloween party. But like yellow tights and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, my uncle still calls me Donald every time he sees me.
That's fun.
Number 6, superhero.
Sure.
Yeah, Batman,
No,
Spider-Man.
There's some simple ones. I mean, like this girl
There's
that
a-
I've got a
I'm
picture
sure-
of here. She's in jeans.
Yeah, that is like the easiest outfit ever.
She's like in jeans and a Wonder Woman shirt.
And they have a lot more choices now than they did 30 years ago because we had Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. That might have been about the Hulk, maybe. Now, thanks to the Marvel universe
Yeah.
and the DC universe, you get a lot more options as who you want to go with as a superhero.
My favorite is the people who go as the different versions of the same character when they go out in groups. Like that's hysterical to see.
Like,
That's a
let's
lot
be
of fun.
honest. I'm Deadpool if I'm a Marvel character. All right, I'm Deadpool. Deadpool didn't exist 30 years ago as an option to pick
No.
Mm-mm.
for a costume. Just saying. Just saying.
All right.
Number 5, nurse.
I mean,
And I don't know what picture y'all thought that I might put up.
no,
here.
this is
This is
perfect.
very cute little girls
This
dressed
is
as
very
nurses.
cute.
I don't.
And
I
a
don't-
surgeon, it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say nurse, doctor,
The
surgeon.
doctor kind of got thrown in there a little
Yeah.
bit. But
That's
yeah.
all right. This is good.
Medical professionals
There you go.
that are not insurance company agents. Since they dictate what care you do and don't get, and this is not a political show, so we'll move on. Nurses can be naughty as well. Naughty nurses, naughty
Well,
doctors.
That's a
naughty
good
That's
beer
what I was
here.
saying. So I gave y'all the schoolgirl.
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
nurse had to be for the kid.
Boys should be happy. Or girls.
Mhm. Yeah, whatever
Float your boat.
your flavor of wine is.
That's right.
That's a deep cut.
White,
folks.
red, rosé.
Rosé.
Sometimes
And a Merlot that
a
was
Merlot.
one time
A Chard-
a
a Burgundy or a Chardonnay. I can't remember. All right, number 4.
Number 4. horror villains, and we
See,
went
now-
through all this thing last week.
Yeah, we never dressed up as the bad guys. But I think that was more because I was afraid of everything when I was a kid. Like everything. Like the
Freddy,
wind blew
Jason,
funny.
yeah.
I was afraid.
And that was a fun episode last week, despite the fact I
It
don't
was
watch
good.
horror movies. So, we had a good turnout in the voting and appreciate it, same as today.
Yes.
So, top 3 on the board, Terry. What do we got?
Number 3 is vampire.
There you go.
Nice.
I
Lex
did
and
too.
I
Had the
went
plastic teeth,
Yeah.
fangs,
I went as a vampire.
fake
yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
So one year I took Lex to Foxwoods to trick or treat. They had a whole thing in the outlets, like the whole trunk or treat thing, same thing. And we dressed both of us as vampires. And I got a big long wig and everything, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. But I had to put makeup on his face to give him like the white. He goes, I really don't like makeup. And I'm like, all right, well, you don't have to wear it anymore. He's like, okay. So funny.
Yeah, I loved the vampire
Yeah.
lore, Hillary, obviously Dracula,
Yeah.
Bram Stoker, Interview with the Vampire, fun. Hell, even Twilight, the glamour
Even, like,
vampire. The glittery vampires.
Underworld. That's
Underworld.
vampires, right?
Yep.
Blade.
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 It's a good one.
Good
So,
stuff.
I mean,
Lost
vampire,
Boys?
this is the...
Lost Boys vampires.
Yes. I believe they were.
I think
Were they what? I'm sorry.
it's been a
Lost Boys
while.
were vampires, right?
Lost Boys. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vampires.
That was a good movie.
God,
It's been
Corey
so
Haim
long
and Corey
since
Feldman.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Well, here she goes because she's old, and they were
I'm
right in her
so
wheelhouse.
old. Oh, they
Right
so
in her
were. I
wheelhouse.
loved the two Coreys. Are you kidding me? If you were a girl my age, you definitely liked the both of them.
Yeah,
No
probably
question.
some boys too, but they just didn't make
Yes.
it as clear back then as they do
That's
now. The problem
All right,
is, speaking of costumes, I watched enough Instagram videos that I came across a furry the other day, and I
Oh.
sent this to Allison as a person getting ready for this is a thing. I thought it was because it was Halloween. Apparently, this is how the person goes out of their house every single day. Every day. I learned things thanks to
You
social
learned
media.
things.
I learned things.
All right.
All right, number 2.
Wicked Witch of the West. There she is.
Ooh, yep.
She's a little sexy witch here.
That's a good one. That's a
Not-
really
not-
nice outfit.
Not quite the assets that the schoolgirl had, but
Assets, yeah. But witches obviously be the naughty witch. You can be the evil witch. You could be the good witch.
Mhm.
Lots of options for the ladies.
Yes.
Lots of
I
options.
like that a lot.
I went as a wizard one time.
Did you really?
I did. I'm starting to remember
Nice.
some of these. It's like if you just ask me what I went as, I'm like, I don't know.
I went as Amy Farrah Fowler one year.
Oh my God.
Wow, how old were you? Because she hasn't been around. But
It was like 5 years ago. My
okay.
brother has a Halloween party every year.
Furries. Oh yeah, that's what Bober's talking about. They have a big convention in Pittsburgh. Okay.
I mean, he
Reason
knows.
not to go to Pittsburgh. Furry convention,
We
Mike
needed
Bober.
another one.
That's what we got right there. Furry convention and Mike Bober. We
Okay,
love you, Bober. You'll be joining us on the show sometime
Yep.
next
so
month.
any guesses
As to
as
what
to
number
what
one
would
is?
be number 1?
It's either gonna be maybe Star Wars or Super Mario stuff, Nintendo stuff, maybe.
Those are the only ones I remember left on the
Oh,
list.
Teenage
that are-
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough turtle lovers.
I don't think so. Number 1 is Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars had to. And again,
I
it's
mean-
multiples. You can be
Oh,
Yoda,
yeah.
obviously.
Right,
I looked
you know,
for,
Leia.
like I said, I went to Amazon. I looked for like the golden bikini.
I was just gonna
But
say,
I did not
you
find
know that was without a doubt the sexiest Star Wars costume.
And the ugliest captor ever
Yeah. Oh God.
in Java.
Mm-hmm.
But-
So let me
yeah.
run it down.
Good
All right,
list.
let's run
Go
it
ahead,
down.
Terry.
Number 10, Ghost. Number 9, Schoolgirl. Number 8, Harry Potter. Number 7, Disney. Number 6, Superhero. Number 5, Nurse or medical professional, as we said. Number 4, Horror Villain. Number 3, Vampire. Number 2, Witch. And number 1, Star Wars characters.
This is a very good list. I've been 5 of these things. This is a good list.
Yeah, I think I was 3 of them. I think we've determined. So
I was a schoolgirl that one.
I
yeah, we
No.
quit. We quit trick or treating at like 12 or 13.
went trick or treating in college.
It was my mom. She was that way. So
Mm.
you're too old. That's for kids. Blah blah blah. So
My mom gave out pencils. All right. We were just lucky they weren't toothbrushes.
my dad
See-
didn't give out the king sized candy, but he gave out, especially after
Oh.
we all left, he used to give the
Full
kids
size?
the regular size candy.
That's pretty great.
Little low for the schoolgirl. Her top or the ranking there, Dave,
That's great.
because her boobies were out.
He wasn't even here for schoolgirl, was he?
Oh, he
I'm
might not have
disappointed in this crowd. Yeah, well, you can tell Teppy's out of town because he's really just letting it fly tonight.
Yeah, that was the best picture that you would enjoy
Yeah.
there, Dave. You should
Yeah.
rewind and go look at that.
Yeah, watch
But-
the video while we're on break.
But some of this
Um,
conversation is good for next week because we've already
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of decided to continue this October
been. Yes.
festivity with we want to say candy or do we want to say
Hallow-
trick or treat?
Halloween candy.
Because
As
do we
much
want
as
to
I
open it up
love,
to pencils,
No,
as much as I love
absolutely
Allison's
not.
mother, pencils, I would like,
apples?
I would like,
Toothpaste?
I would cuss you leaving from the house. You know, I'd be like, what is wrong with this lady?
That's like the people who used to give out pennies and quarters. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? Did you ever get a house that gave you pennies? Because I did.
Pennies, like a roll
Pennies.
of pennies.
Like a bowl of pennies, and they would give you a handful of pennies.
What am I doing with that?
Now, again, this was in the early 80s, but yeah.
Probably throw it at somebody's windows.
Terry's pure disgust. What am I doing with that?
Oh, that's so
Oh,
good.
it reminds me that video. That girl, she needed quarters for something, and she's like, "Where do I get quarters?" So
Oh,
she went
yeah.
to Amazon and bought the quarter rolls,
And
was
she's like,
disappointed
what
they
the
didn't have, like,
hell?
quarters in them. Good.
Oh, no, this was fun. But yes, guys, prepare for Terry to put the poll out at some point when he gets an
This is
opportunity.
funny.
See,
I'm
Dave Miller
sorry.
knows.
This
Halloween.
makes this the funny thing to me is he says this, but it reminds me of Andy Griffith, where Opie's like, "A whole quarter, Paul."
The quarters were a big deal. Quarters were great to get. When I was a kid, you could take a quarter to the corner store and get candy.
And Dave has a legit point. Pinball.
Yep.
You talk about a fun game.
Definitely.
I love
Absolutely.
pinball. And a real pinball machine. Don't give me the damn cell phone gimmick. Give me the pinball machine.
We
You
had
know?
There's
one.
a place down here that
Yeah.
they do pinball night, like on Wednesdays or whatever. You can go, and all the pinball machines
Look
are
at this.
free.
I love this. Dave Miller. My papa gave me a quarter every night when my mom picked me up so I could get a Slurpee from 7-Eleven.
That's
If
awesome.
that's not love, I don't know what is.
And if that's not Dave Miller, I don't know what
Yeah.
is. Papa, Slurpee, quarter, 7-Eleven.
Slurpees in my family, one of the happiest days was when they built a 7-Eleven across from the little corner store I used to work at.
If he says Von Erichs, it's like
Oh,
a
God.
tantric moment for everybody.
Yeah.
He's reached the overload. Little
So what's
Eastern
happening on Ram this
medicine
week?
for you.
Yeah. Speaking of pond water, what do we got going
Yeah.
on? Right?
Pondwater, our man, talking wrestling, celebrating their 100th episode of Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave. Amy,
Yay.
of course, will be there. Josh Newell from BIW is going to be there to discuss the Down on the Bayou tournament coming up.
Ooh.
I'm sure Dave will be refereeing those matches and probably missing the fact somebody cheated because that's what he does. That's what we know.
Bober is excited that he can call somebody else old here. I mean, he's not going to miss this opportunity.
Bober is the old man of the wrestling group until Dave comes in. That is
drives
very
like
true.
one.
Oh my God. Can you imagine 25 cents? God almighty.
Yeah.
I got a Coke Zero the other day for $2.79 and it was a 20-ounce bottle. I'm like, what are we doing here? When did it become that expensive? Anyway, I digress. Thanks
Pennies
to
for a dollar.
the Dodgers and the Yankees going to be in the World Series, the boys over at Filter Free Popcast 1977 World Series, Dodgers Yankees. They're covering Elvis's CBS concert 2 months after his death. And Leonard Skinner's plane crash, which, thanks to the movie Con Air, is forever memorable. Define irony. Drunken idiots dancing on an airplane to a song written by a band that died in a plane crash.
Airplane.
Thank you, Steve Buscemi. And I think the deep dive is Evil Knievel, maybe. Broke a lot of bones, did a lot of crazy shit.
That is a good
1977.
episode right there. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
A lot of stuff on it there. Generations, I believe, dropped, didn't it? Where they're doing the golden era, starting with Hogan, January 23rd, 1984. Became the WWF champion. Hulkmania was born. Pretty sure they said it was dropped. That's going to be TJ, Dave in the HSV, and our buddy Timmy C, who is the most out-of-pocket person in our friends group. I am always second place as long as he's in the room. And ballers, get your bets in, folks, because don't listen to me and Terry about who we think's going to win football these days, because we suck it. And we'll get into that in hour 2 of the show.
I'm on the leaderboard here still, so we'll discuss that later.
I keep forgetting.
Don't matter. And let's see. Oh, just for Dave, since he joined us, and we do love and appreciate him. Ringside Replay, Episode 3, dropping, featuring awesome Jeff Jarrett, the poster angle with Jimmy Jack Funk. Okay, so I despise hockey. And I despise Jeff Jarrett more than that. And then it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. So they're on the fuck this list. Jeff Jarrett's number 2. Okay, so that'll be exciting to watch or listen to, I'm sure. Riveting because it's a poster angle. But the Ram Network, $5. It pays the StreamYard, guys. We love it. We have fun. We entertain. Apparently, Dave and the HSV and I will be doing a Royal Rumble watch-along and a Superstars on the Superstation 1986 watch-along at some point. We get the worlds to align. So, anyway.
So you mentioned hockey a minute ago, and it reminded me of a conversation I had with Cyrus today. So we got a few weeks left in soccer season, but I think they do an indoor thing during the winter.
Oh.
And he was talking about indoor soccer not having throw-ins, and I think it's like hockey. They got a wall, and the ball just bounces off the wall and stuff. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, and I got some fancy camera gadgets. I got a gimbal for my camera. So
for your real camera, not like your iPhone.
My real you can get one for the phone, but I
just
didn't want to
joking.
record stuff. No, I mean I spent a lot of money on this. But then
this is peak Terry.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
so my
buddy.
problem was a few weeks ago we went to a tournament, and I got a lot of videos of clouds and feet.
Hey, we don't need to know about your preferences, all right?
Yeah, feet videos well. I mean,
so
I heard there's this only
stay on target.
That's smart.
You know? So
that's
and
really
it's
smart.
excellent, and I can actually watch the action. I don't have to watch it through the screen.
Nice.
I'm still getting used to it, but I love fancy stuff like that.
Right? Can't hide money.
And like you said, it's got a lot better lenses, ability to, actually capture the entire picture.
And then I don't have 7,500 videos on my phone or something.
Because what does Terry refuse to pay for? Extra storage.
Space to Apple.
But he'll drive to Tennessee for lottery tickets.
He's a complicated man.
I'm not far from Tennessee.
That's a joke, Terry.
Dad is a complicated man.
It's like, right there.
He's like, how the fuck did TNA Top 10 become Roast Terry Night?
I love you. All right.
Because Terry shares these things with us, and we laugh at it.
Might as well.
Because we love him.
Because we love him so much, and he keeps us on point. And we love all of you.
Yes.
Thank you all for voting. Remember, Halloween candy next week. And week 8, is it, Terry, already, of football?
9.
Next week?
Week
9 next week. So,
did I do that right?
Yeah, maybe. Keep voting, guys. That's all we're saying.
Yep.
And no, this is not paid for by any political party. This is TNA Top
No.
10. But keep voting.
Yes.
And if you feel the need, go vote for one of them too. But anyway, thank you again, guys.
So that I
Appreciate it.
don't screw up the buttons. Give me a second. Before I bring it down, let me say thanks to everybody that voted. This was another fun show. Thanks, Allison and Andrew. Thanks, Pondwater. And hey, let me not forget anybody. Devin was in the chat. Alex was in the
Alex.
chat. Bober was in the chat.
Frankie.
Frankie was in the chat. Refreshing our memories on the sexiness of Miss Allison Faye.
Carla's watching.
Yep.
Carla.
And
Hopefully.
I think she's
and
going to a
anybody who's
football
not
game.
in the chat and
Yes.
watching, we do appreciate and thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
But just as always, so that we can shut it down for the first show, we're going to do the football show in a few minutes. Give us 3 to 5 minutes, or maybe 7 sometimes. You know how that works. But we'll be back shortly. We appreciate you all. And as always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody. Hello and welcome to there I go screwing it up. Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 for week 8 of the college football season. And I didn't even have the graphics up there when we came back. I was this close to having it right this time.
Drinking out of your new glass.
I am, and I just unmuted you so I could get the last half of that sentence.
Are you drinking out of your new glass?
I am. It's got my AU logo on there, and it says Terry. I know you can't see it on the camera very well, and I'm this reverse angle thing's really throwing me off. Maybe you can see it now,
It'll mess you up in a minute, won't it?
but it's white, so it's hard to see. But that is a gift from Andrew for my birthday. I am several decades and a half old, so figure that one out on your own.
I just bought it because he needed to look more professional on the show with his
Yeah.
name and everything. Like, I need to get a coffee mug with my name or something.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you, sir.
No, you're welcome. I just wonder how many times it's been refilled tonight. That's all. That's the real number people care about, sir.
It's been, and let me tell you, I'm watering the stuff down. I'm not like slamming shots over here. I'm sipping.
Watering it down, he meant he had 2 ice cubes in the glass filled at the top. That's what that means. 2 ice cubes, glass filled at the top. Because he keeps the liquor in the freezer. The ice cubes are just for optics, especially when dealing with me. That's what he meant to say. Is the ice
Well, let me tell
cube.
you, I've needed some alcohol lately because let me tell you something I like about college football these days. There's, I like maps, right?
Yes. I have a map of Huntsville or of Tuscaloosa, thanks to you.
That's right. That was a gift for you. Yes.
Yes.
So I enjoy maps and I enjoy college football. Well, there's a map that gets published weekly these days. I'm not sure who actually does it. I see it all around. It's called the College Football Imperialism Map. So for those that don't know what that means, at the start of the year, everybody owns the little bit of land. Thank you for the 25th birthday. Happy birthday there, Alex. You're a little bit off. But anyway, so everybody starts with the closest counties around their university. And when you start playing people, whoever wins gains your land. And it's imperialism. Go Google it. Figure out what that means. You're invading other territories and you're winning their land. So apparently, this is a concept that college football fans cannot follow very well. And I have been in the comments for days trying to explain it. Last week, I said there are no such thing as Miami fans. Well, that is not correct because I talked to several of them because they were wondering why they didn't own any land in California. So I had to run it all down for them. It's like California didn't own the land when you beat them, stupid. So you didn't win anything. And then there were some Texas fans upset that Texas Tech had a bunch of land in South Texas. Same thing. People just don't get it, but I love it. So, and I looked for the updated version of that. And I was going to show it on the screen, but whoever does that has not updated it yet. We're recording Sunday this time. I imagine if we were recording Monday, I'd be able to do that. So I might show it next week if we record Monday.
Yes, because we are a day early, which means the poll closed a day early. But we certainly appreciate everybody who participated in our top 10 poll because, as has become commonplace, the mighty have fallen again. And obviously, we're going to get into it, Terry.
We are.
But Army, Navy, Vandy, top 25.
All of them. 23,
All of
24,
them.
and 25.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's insanity. Also,
Vandy did beat Alabama, so that's
well, we're gonna get there because I've got a couple comments about the latest poll, and maybe it does. I think that they're really, really smashing people on these losses. The Alabama loss to Tennessee we're going to talk about, but this is what I'll say: it was 7 points to a very good football team in their stadium, and Alabama fell 8 spots.
That's the thing that always gets me. If number 2 plays number 3 and number 2 beats number 3, why is number 3 dropping?
To number 10. As an example.
No, Yeah. So like, why would that happen? I
Yeah.
mean, shouldn't that be what you expect? I mean, if they barely beat them, like the Oregon Ohio State, why would Ohio State drop very far
And
after?
they didn't. They dropped to 5, I think.
So
But
that's
I'm just saying they dropped 7 or 8 full spots. And
right.
Tennessee and Alabama, if you remember, were ranked right on top of each other. It was a
Yes.
one-score football game, which again we're going to get into. Also have a couple comments about the Texas Georgia game. So I guess we better get this party started. I do want to note first major institution, at least I think of the season, fires their coach. East Carolina University, 3-4 start. He's gone. So he has been let go. The head coaching carousel begins, Terry, because that,
Well,
of course, has implications for recruiting, transfer portal, NIL, and coaching jobs.
it does, and this is just fans with rumors, but they're already starting the rumors at Auburn that money's being moved around. I can't see it. I mean,
While we're on the topic, because it's our show, as I make that joke every week. Thank you, James Elkarai. Shout out. This is our show. What is Freeze's contract? Do you remember?
I don't honestly. I don't know.
Rule is getting
It's
paid
not very much.
Rule at Nebraska is getting paid $7.5 or $8 million. Now we're gonna get to Nebraska, believe me,
Yeah,
folks.
right.
And he's apparently in the middle of the Big Ten. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
Freeze is not on the top of any lists as
at
far as
$8 million, you're in the middle.
well,
You
and
know?
that's the thing because I mean, obviously, it was a pretty controversial hire for Auburn. This is kind of a second chance kind of deal for him. So he was seen as a good football coach that had done some stupid stuff and kind of had to rehab and come back, and that's why you don't get the money up front. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But why don't we
Yeah.
get it on the road, like you said, and see what we can start out with from this week? Why don't we just hit it hard right here? Georgia at Texas. Georgia put it on them. 30-15 win. Just had them the whole game.
With 3 turnovers.
Yeah. Turnovers all over the place.
Georgia wins 30-15, committing 3 turnovers and forcing 4. They made so this is my comment on Georgia's defense because this is really and this is a thing that I think everybody needs to consider when we're talking about top 10 football, top 5 football. This is a fast, aggressive, experienced, well-disciplined defense, and they proved it. Their quarterback offense turned the ball over 3 times, 3 interceptions on Saturday night against Texas. Texas's defense came to ball, they came to play, but Georgia's defense nullified everything that Texas did defensively to that offense of Georgia. Carson Beck throwing 3 interceptions, Terry, incredible. 3 interceptions for Georgia. But the linebacker play, the defensive line, the pressure packages, they were all over Quinn Ewers. And when Arch Manning had his chance, they were all over him too. Georgia's defense, big, fast, mean, and aggressive, probably the best all-around defense in the SEC. And I don't think it's close. I just don't. Like from a playing standpoint, they look like NFL players
So,
when you see Georgia's defense.
do you think Georgia has a little bit of playing to their competition going on? Because obviously they had the 1-point game with Kentucky, and they beat Auburn pretty well, but the score was bigger than the actual game was. Um, then they got the loss. Um, do you
But the
think
loss
that
to Alabama jumped out on them 28
right?
points, and they came roaring back and
Yeah,
forced it to a last-minute touchdown, and they committed 3 turnovers in that game too. So Georgia is not executing on offense. I had said Carson Beck looks like he's going to have a quiet season, should be the guy who they could consider for a Heisman Trophy. They're not going to consider a guy that turns the ball over 3 times a game, Terry, as a Heisman Trophy winner. He's not
right.
going to win that award. He's not protecting the ball. But again, Georgia defense is nullifying the impact of turning the ball over. When we talk about Nebraska, that did not happen. Texas also paid for it. Now, here's the comment on the Texas game. Very physical, Georgia defense. But they got 2 targeting calls in the second half, and that means for the first half of the Florida game in 2 weeks, They don't have those defensive players. That's huge. So being physical and being aggressive does have its consequences if you get called for that targeting penalty. The other thing, the holding call that was overturned, we all agreed in the group chat it was not holding.
Right.
Here's where I have the problem with it. When the fans started throwing the drinks on the field, that's when they decided it was no longer holding.
Right.
Well, they have the right to talk about it. I get that. You got bullied into making that call, and that was Kirby Smart's point. He said, so now all of a sudden, if the fans start throwing things, we're going to change or reverse the play, reverse the call, because instead of it being an interception, as you know, it ends up being a or I guess was it an interception for Texas? Yes,
yeah,
it was an interception for Texas. Rather than be a holding and a 10-yard penalty for Georgia, Texas intercepts the ball, runs it back, and they set up on the 9. Now, granted, the defense of Georgia held Texas to 15 points, but that led to a touchdown, which was Kirby Smart's point. Referees, once again, instrumental in the outcome of the football game.
So
I agree it wasn't holding. I don't agree with the way we got there.
So, okay, you spoke to the aspect of now what does that teach the fans? Throw shit on the field and maybe you'll get the call charge. That is a real thing. That's a real concern. The aspect for me is we continue to hear we can't review that play. Well, that's an unreviewable play, and they don't even consider changing a call until now. So does that mean in the future we're going to have a huddle? I mean, how many times does one of the referees on some part of the field know that another referee screwed up, and since it's not a reviewable play, they just let it go?
You see it all the time on the end zone. You got the referee right there, not call the touchdown, and the guy from 25 yards away from the play on the other end of the sideline is calling the touchdown. It's crazy. It's crazy.
If they start doing that more often, if they start huddling up and talking about it and changing it more often, then maybe that's okay. But if the only reason they ever do that is the fans disrupt the game, then we can't do it that way.
Well, and I will say this. I've said it, I'm very high on Steve Sarkisian. Yes. Obviously, the man went to Alabama rehabilitated after the Washington stint with the alcohol and all that nonsense. Forget all that. Dude was a class act Saturday night telling those fans to settle down and pleading with them to quit throwing stuff on the field. Because quite frankly, somebody's going to get hurt and or you're delaying the game, and all of these things. It's not good. And now, in case you didn't know, Terry, because I don't know how much of the news you read this morning, Texas fined $250,000 by the SEC for that.
Okay.
The University of Texas has to pay a $250,000 fine and may or may not have their alcohol privileges either suspended and or investigated under review.
That's interesting. I think there was two. I saw something the other day. You talk about the alcohol privileges because there's two SEC teams that still don't serve alcohol at the stadium. And I believe it's Auburn and Georgia of all teams.
Yeah, so the Ole Miss game, forget who got fined. It was Tennessee. Tennessee got fined because they were throwing shit like batteries at Lane Kiffin and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah. So, guys, act like freaking fan. That's horrible. Don't do that nonsense. There's no excuse for it. No
and
excuse.
The thing is, a bad call. I mean, we hate it. I don't care how serious the game is. It is not the end of the world, even for that game.
Mm-mm. No. And it's one play inside of 120.
Right.
So
back to the thought of baseball, I think I saw a graphic the other day where Major League Baseball umpires missed 27,000 strike and ball calls this year, and that's the best season they've ever had.
Yeah.
It happens.
Speaking of baseball, Dodgers just home run 4-1. What's our next game, Terry?
Our next game, staying in the SEC,
my God.
We're kind of grouping them. We got Alabama and Tennessee, and we're happy on Rocky Top.
Man, they're smoking them cigars. Josh Heupel finally got the win. Well, I guess he got the win a couple years ago against Alabama. I can't say finally,
Yeah.
but he hasn't beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa, if I'm not mistaken. They have because
Right.
they've only won
They're
one of the last 10 or something. So, and that was in Tennessee.
Oh,
But anyway,
they had a big winning streak against them, and
Saban showed up. Yeah, that
they
happens.
keep talking about Tennessee being Alabama's biggest rival and all that stuff. And I always said that's because they beat them every year. But we won't get into that right now.
Jalen Milroe, 2 turnovers, game deciding turnover through the interception. 3 intercept or for Tennessee. Tennessee looked horrible in the first half. Very lucky to win the game, but obviously Heifel makes the adjustments. 100 yards different in offense. And Alabama can ball. They got the receivers, they got the quarterback, they got the running back. They can ball.
75 yards rushing though.
But
Tennessee didn't let it go on the ground.
That defensive front of Tennessee, they came to play. And look at what else that stat says. Speaking of the rushing line, forget the passing. Everybody in college can throw the ball. Alabama gives up 220 yards
Well, look
of
at the next
rushing.
game. I don't know if everybody can.
220 yards of rushing, Terry. That's incredible for the defense of Alabama to give up that many yards.
It is. And look at
it
the
was
penalties.
it was a dirty game. I was just going to say 26 total penalties, over 200 yards, 220 it looks like if I did the math there.
Yeah.
I didn't do the math there, 210.
210.
But anyway, that's horrible. That's like watching that Nebraska Purdue game that didn't have these type of implications. When you got that many penalties, it ruins the game. Like the tempo's not there. And then if you're the fan watching the game, and then of course the coaches are just working the hell out of the referees on both sides of the stadium. So yeah, Alabama, not what I expected this year, to be quite frank, considering they had all those players. But I mean, somebody's got to lose. And good win for Tennessee. Whether you like it or not, it's a good win and a season win for Tennessee.
So what these 2 games that we've talked about tell me is there is no top of the SEC right now. There's a collection of several teams that are battling that out at the top. We got Texas, we got Alabama, we got Tennessee, we got Georgia. Ole Miss is sitting there. They've got a couple of losses. They're going to keep showing up. Texas A&M is sitting at the top of the standings all of a sudden. There's a lot of teams. I always talked about Alabama and Georgia being at the top, and then there's a big group. I think that whole group is all the way at the top now. Georgia and Alabama have been gobbled up by it, and they're just beating each other up. But it's a good time for that to happen because the 12-team playoff is starting this year. So you don't have to have those superstar teams at the top. You can get a few teams in and see what happens in the playoffs. They're going to beat each other up throughout the season. And when the playoff comes, who knows what happens. But it's really exciting. We got the same kind of thing in the Big 12. We talked about that in the Big 12, not really knowing who's going to take over. The SEC's in the same boat. We thought Texas was going to do it, but obviously they're not.
Well, and the thing is Texas ran into a buzzsaw, that Georgia defense. And I mean, regardless, no one has ever accused Kirby Smart of not being able to get a good defense out of Georgia.
Right.
That's never been an issue, and it never will be an issue.
Guy. Yeah.
That's his thing. But you're right. There's 4 or 5 teams in the and they could all be in the playoff for all that matters.
Right.
Who's up next, Terry?
Well, unfortunately, we got Auburn at Missouri, and if you look at these quarter scores, Auburn was up 17-6 going into the fourth quarter and lost again. And I think there were 47 seconds left when Missouri took the lead. And this is just heartbreaking. Every single week, Auburn plays, the defense plays well, keeps them in it, and something happens, and the offense just cannot put points on the board. And they give up, and the defense is tired at that point, and they give something up at the end. And here it is, 21-17 at Missouri. Now, there's a little bit different twist this week we talked about because Missouri's quarterback is injured in the first quarter, goes to the hospital. Brady Cook,
Yep.
Thank you. I kept thinking Carson Beck. So he goes to the hospital. and it looks like he's just not going to come back. He comes back and mounts a comeback in the fourth quarter, and they win. That's champ of the week if I've ever heard it.
Yeah, and he went to the hospital and was there for 2 quarters of the game and was listed as unlikely to return and comes back clutch for your number 20 Missouri Tigers that have 1 loss.
Right.
Talk about teams that got dropped, Terry. They were in the top 10 and now they're in the top 20. So,
But as an Auburn fan, you got to wonder what happens next. Every week, it's like there's just no confidence in this because you see for 3 quarters, Auburn owns this game.
and I had the game on at work, so I was able to catch some of it. Had a special team blocked punt for a touchdown. Great play. The
Right.
defense is really, really quick, really fast for
They
Auburn.
are.
No
And they're
run
young.
game.
They're
No,
young and good. A good combination for the future.
I say no run game. You ran 100 yards, but not
Right.
the old school Auburn run game. That you
No.
leaned on.
And Jarquez Hunter is supposed to be, preseason, he was voted by the coaches as the best running back in the conference. He hasn't done it. And even when he has the yards, he fumbles a lot, and that's not helping anything.
No, and like you say, you got 1 turnover versus 2. I mean, you won the turnover margin.
Mhm.
You won the possession margin. You 4th and 14 on 3rd down though, not great. But
Not
that
good.
might be going to what's his name from Michigan State, your quarterback, not being able to convert on 3rd down,
Peyton Thorne, yeah, there was a 47-yard touchdown pass to the true freshman Cam Coleman. So,
Yeah. The
that was
problem
good.
is the problem is, and goodness, the Dodgers just hit another 2-run homer. This thing getting busted open, Terry. We're in the bottom of the 3rd, and it's 6-1
So go ahead,
Dodgers.
mark it up. Dodgers, Yankees.
Yeah, bring me Otani. But no, seriously, the problem is you got a coach who had to come in after Brian Herson. Terrible,
Yeah.
or Harson. Terrible
Yeah.
hire for Auburn. Terrible. But he's a coach that's got baggage anyway.
Right.
And he's supposed to win football games and be this great offensive mind. And he's not winning football games. And he's had several games where his offense has cost his team the football game with the
Yeah.
failure to execute, or in a couple of those games, Terry, just turnovers, just flat out not taking care of the ball. And you can't necessarily say that's inexperience when you look at the age of the quarterback.
Right.
And that sort of thing. But to your other point, you got the best running back in the whole conference, can't hold the ball. Well, he's
Right.
not the best running back in the conference then.
Exactly. Well, my deal is, and I hate to be this way, but I think Hugh Freeze made a mistake with his thought that he had at least a good enough quarterback for this season. They are worse than they were last year. The record, at least.
Yeah.
Because the defense lost a lot in the secondary, so they had to get some young guys, and they're playing well. But the offense hasn't been as good as it was last year, even with bringing in all the weapons at wide receiver.
Yep.
The message last year was Peyton Thorne was too conservative. He didn't turn the ball over. They tried to air it out more this year. They got a lot of yards, but he turned the ball over. His top end is just not where it needs to be. The problem is there's nobody on the roster right now whose top end is good enough. And that is a coach recruiting problem. My deal, and I'm going to give him a mulligan. That's all I can do. This year is a mulligan for Hugh Freeze, but you better figure it out for next year because the excuses are getting old.
Well, and realistically, Auburn is a 4-8 team.
Yeah. They
5-7.
They are
5
what
and
we
7.
thought. They are what we thought Florida was going to be.
Yep. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you expect in year 2 improvement.
Right.
And we're going to get there with Nebraska, I promise. Who's next, Terry? Where
All
we
right,
go?
we're going to change conferences and we're going to go to the ACC. And there was a shootout in Louisville.
It was a
Miami with
basketball
another
game.
win. Another win for Miami. They're undefeated, but they're not dominating anybody.
Week 3, in a row of the referees influencing the outcome of a Miami game. This is no bullshit. Louisville sacked Cam Ward. They said it was a forward pass, but Louisville had scooped and scored. They had picked the ball up and run it to the end zone. It got called a touchdown, reversed. This time I agree with the call. So the referees are 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3 they got right for Miami. But we have a preview coming up for who they're playing next week, and our buddy is going to be licking some wounds because there is one thing Miami can do. They may not defend worth a shit, but they can put some points and they can put some yards up. They play fast football down in Miami, Terry.
They do.
Fast football.
And
I saw part of this game, and there is no defense from either Louisville or Miami. Just none. And you're like, yeah, Andrew, they scored 97 points. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it didn't even look like there was an effort for defense at times. I mean, this was a very, very fast. And you look at that lopsidedness, 10 minutes times of possession with offenses that scored like this, and Louisville only lost by 7. That shows you how tight this game was.
Miami was 9 of 15 third down.
Yep.
Getting it done.
And the penalty count was pretty good for both teams. And look at that balance attack for Miami. 200 yards rushing. That you would think is a good enough to beat anybody with what their offensive production was. So, but I don't like Miami, so we'll move on.
All right, let's move out of the ACC and go to the Big 12. And the mullet almost stopped the undefeated season for BYU, but it didn't quite happen. BYU ends up with a win, 38-35.
There are several teams we've overlooked in our preview. BYU is one of them. We've factored them into the middle of the pack.
They keep winning.
They kept winning, and they came from behind in this one, and they stole it from Oklahoma State because Oklahoma State should have had it. And look at this game, Terry. 3 penalties for a total of 20 yards between both teams. Now, they had 5 turnovers, but only 3 penalties. And BYU
both teams ran the hell out of the ball.
Yeah, BYU getting it done. I mean, yeah, and there's no run defense apparently on either side of the football. But 9 for 13 third down, 5 for 10 third down. I mean, this is just another offensive outing. This is what you expect when you watch Big 12 football. But the points don't always register because then you have either a penalty or you have a fumble or you have a interception or something. Oklahoma State had no right to piss this game away because they were up big at halftime thanks to those three turnovers. They come out, BYU did second half, and they did their deal. They played their game. They won the football game, and that's all there is to that. And
really
they look like
Big 12 to see who comes out of this with it.
They look like a front runner to win the whole thing.
Right, they do. And then there's a playoff bye waiting on them.
Yep. And they might get crushed by whoever that is. But
it's possible. Who knows? Who knows?
But anyway, that's a fun game. Yeah.
But let's move along to another game in the Big 12. And 38-35 was a popular score this week.
Another come from behind. Iowa State came back in the last minute of the game to take it from Gus. Winning a game he should have lost. This is one of those, Terry, where there's games Gus Malzahn should win and he loses, and games he has no business playing in and nearly win. That's this one right here. Iowa State looked like trash. Go ahead, the stats. Look at the time of possession.
Earlier.
Yeah.
62 passing yards for Gus, 354 rushing yards. This is like Nick Marshall playing at Auburn where they just don't pass the ball at all. 350 rushing yards.
Well, and you look at it, the turnovers again, even, but look at that time of possession, 15 minutes in favor of Iowa State.
How do you run the ball for 350 and get beaten that much in time of possession? I guess he's chewing that bubble gum and saying, "Get to the line, get to the line."
Yeah. I mean, they have to be doing hurry up. I didn't watch this game except for the ending, but Iowa State stole it again inside of 2 minutes from Malzahn and UCF.
Well, his defense is probably exhausted by that point.
Yeah, and you look at the balance attack Matt Campbell has at Iowa State, excuse me. Look at that. 530, 274, 256. Terry, it doesn't get too much
Crazy.
better than that.
Two
And the
penalties for 10 yards.
least penalized team in the entire country, 134 teams. Iowa State is the least penalized team. You know what that means? They don't make mistakes. They play clean football. Do you know what clean football means? That you don't get big runs called back for holding, or you
That's
don't
right.
get pass interference, those things that change games. Now,
And I
6
think
to
it means
19
we
on
need to
third
give them a
down.
little more respect when we start voting for rankings here, because Iowa State's getting it done.
They made my top 10. Don't mind telling everybody. So,
Well, we'll see if they made the official top 10.
yep.
But why don't we move out of the Big 12 and let's go to the Big 10, where the first game we talk about is USC at Maryland. And Maryland comes back in the fourth quarter to win this one 29-28.
In the last 90 seconds, SC goes for a field goal, gets the field goal blocked. Maryland takes the possession, quarterback gets the job done, runs it in from I want to say maybe 11 yards out, maybe. I don't remember. But it was a short run. It wasn't like a big long run, but he was inside the red zone. Mike Loxley gets it done. And Lincoln Riley once again loses at SC. They are now 3-4. They have a losing record at University of Southern California.
Goodness.
And this gives me hope for Nebraska because SC's on the schedule at the Coliseum in November. So we'll see what that looks like coming in this particular season at the end here. So because they're
I
the
think
second or
USC's getting
third
worse
game.
as the season goes.
Yeah, well, everybody's figuring them out, and the problem is if you can play defense, you can stop USC.
Oh, that's why LSU could. Okay.
LSU. Minnesota beat them. I mean, come on, Minnesota. But anyway, stranger things have happened.
Let's move elsewhere in the Big Ten, and we've got.
Oh my God!
Nebraska at Indiana, and why don't you go ahead and take it here, because I know this is not pleasant.
That wasn't football, is the headline. So Indiana scored on 8 offensive possessions, all touchdowns. They scored 28 in the first, 28 in the second. It is the epitome of balance. Cugnetti had the Kirk Cugnetti, whatever. Cugnetti had the line. Look, Google me. I win everywhere. He does. Yeah. Nebraska showed up flat. They didn't come to play. You look at their line, other than the 304 total. There's not a lot of egregious things there till you get to the turnovers. Nebraska has been so good protecting the football. Dylan Raiola threw 3 interceptions, fumbled the ball twice. 4 of those 5 turnovers ended up in Indiana points. You don't win. I've said it. Everybody going to get me a T-shirt that says you don't win football games when you turn the ball over. Because that's what I say every single week. This is why I say this every single week. For a decade, I have watched Nebraska lose games because they turn the ball over. So this is, to me, what happened in this Nebraska game, to me, is what happened when they used to play Wisconsin with Monty Ball and Melvin Gordon and James White. Rondé. Those running backs used to run the ball all over Nebraska's nickel defense. So Nebraska under Bo Pelini had a fantastic nickel defense that worked if you were going to play spread. But if you were going to play 9 guys on the line of scrimmage, double tight end, running back, run the ball, guess what it didn't do?
It's going to eat you up.
It's going to eat you up. And they didn't make adjustments. And Tony White did not adjust to what Indiana was doing.
Okay.
This is just an ass whooping. This is a lopsided goose egg. This is a team loss. Matt Rule apologized for this loss. Okay, that's not good. That is not good. When you know it was that bad. You got the head coach of the team apologizing to the people that paid money and the people that took their time to support and watch the football game. Not good. What else isn't good is Ohio State's next in Columbus at 12 o'clock Saturday.
And we will talk about that.
We see a bounce back, but this is just an ass whooping. And, maybe
let me
it's
ask you this.
Whooping Nebraska needed. I don't know, because their defense, Terry, couldn't tackle anything Saturday. Not one thing. And they had 1 sack. This defense averaging 6 sacks a game, already having, 20 sacks leading the country, 14 defense in the country, keeping everybody out of the end zone. No rushing touchdowns up to the Indiana game. Indiana had 5 rushing touchdowns. Catastrophic failure from beginning to end. So, and at this year, Mike, that's when they got good at
Yeah,
football.
that's a good
This year.
question. Well, and that's what I was going to ask a little bit because obviously your focus is going to be where does Nebraska go from here? But what, where do we put Indiana at this point? Because they continue to win, and this was impressive, and,
So
and
they
it's
got,
because of being tough,
yeah,
right?
they've got Michigan, Washington, Ohio State, Purdue, and I forget who the other one is left on the schedule. They can win all 12 games. Okay, this is not me kissing Indiana's ass. Kagnetti brought in 14 transfers from JMU. That James Madison team that was so good,
Yeah.
they all play for Indiana now. 14 of them
Okay.
play for
Well,
Indiana.
that's why James Madison has a couple of losses already.
Starting quarterback hurt his hand and is out indefinitely. Backup quarterback continued right where that's the backup quarterback that put 28 on Nebraska in the second half. The
Okay.
starter was in street clothes in the third quarter. So they got good at football, Bober, this year. That's when they got good at football. It's proof that if you have a vision and a team, you can do it. You got to have the coaching. So Nebraska picked up a really good freshman quarterback, and all of a sudden the turnover started to go away until this game. 3 interceptions, but if you can't run the ball and it's drop back pass, that's what you're going to get. So, because you're just letting them know, hell, we're down. At one point, Nebraska was down 28-7 and 42-7. If you're going to score, what are you going to do? At 42-7, Terry, I wouldn't have even put him in the throwing position. I would have just said, let's run our offense. It's a practice from here on out, guys. Let's finish the game and be competitive. Nebraska doesn't win every football game, but they need to be competitive. That's my thing about them.
Right.
But again, this was just a lopsided ass beating. They got Washington this week. Indiana does. They're gonna play good, tight football. Offensively, they are very, very good, and they could match up, I think, with Ohio State. So you ask where they go. This is a team that I didn't have. I had Nebraska potentially 7-0 going into Columbus.
Right.
They're 5-2. And now we've got the death, the world's falling. Oh, we're not going to make a bowl game. We're going to lose 5 straight, blah, blah, blah.
No.
You got Ohio State.
Sounds like Auburn fans saying we're going to lose to Alabama A&M. Yeah.
Ohio State's a loss. Okay, we get that. I mean, I'm going to say later when we predict them that they're going to win. Nebraska is, but Ohio State is a loss. Probably 3, 4, 5 scores. It's a loss. Okay,
Going to pick them to win by 1 point. Yeah, I get
pick them to win by 1 point. Actually, a field goal because I'm going to say our kicker that doesn't score is going to score. But then Nebraska plays UCLA, USC, Iowa, and who's the fourth one? I forget. Oh, USC, UCLA. It's USC, UCLA, Iowa, and Wisconsin. 4 winnable games. They can still be 9-3. They could still be 8-4. They could be 7-5. It's still bowl eligible. Moving on with a winning
at
season.
least a couple of games better than they've been in a while.
And I grew up when Tom Osborne was Nick Saban winning national championship. Right. He went 60-3 the last 5 years, so I get it. The sky is not falling. The world is not over. And you guys saw the group chat. I didn't lose my shit watching them because they got beat. It's when they made no effort to actually play. That's when I lose my shit with my team. And they were horrible Saturday. They didn't get off the bus. That's what they didn't get off the bus. And Indiana still might have beat them. Right. But they didn't give them even a fight.
But show up and make it close. And that's the thing about Auburn is like Auburn's lost some close games. They continue to lose close games. That's what you talked about with Nebraska over the last 10 years.
8-31
in those
8-31
games. Yeah.
Yeah, 1-score games.
But Indiana is in a group of teams that's hard to place right now. Indiana, Iowa State, BYU, several teams that continue to win, continue to be undefeated, but you're like, where do we put them? But there's football to be played, and we're going to figure it out.
Well, and the other thing is, Terry, and I'll just close on this thought because I read a lot of the Indiana stuff. I really respect what they did to Nebraska. This was a measuring stick. They met the challenge. Nebraska did not. Very simple. Done.
Right.
Over with there. But people are still criticizing Indiana. Well, they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody. They play in the Big Ten. And they're going to play
some folks.
Washington. And you could forget Nebraska. They're still going to play Washington, Ohio State, Purdue. And
It'll
Purdue.
work itself out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unfair to just automatically go to schedule. Not everybody can have an Alabama, Georgia schedule or Texas schedule. I mean, that just doesn't work that way. But it's going to be fun to watch and see how they finish. And personally, I'm rooting for Indiana because I like the story.
Yeah.
I just like the story.
It's like the football version of Hoosiers.
Yep, exactly.
Let's run down some other games from this week, and we got a new board here. So we got Duke beating Florida State 23-16, and
For the first time ever.
First time ever, and Florida State's bad season just keeps getting worse.
And it ain't going to get any better when they play Miami this next weekend. So
then we got LSU going to Arkansas and thumping them. You know, we thought there might be a chance that this would be a game Arkansas could compete, but they did not. LSU might be better than we thought.
Offense was ineffective, surprisingly ineffective with Petrino as the OC. So I thought Arkansas might be able to pull the upset. You didn't. Yeah. I did. I thought Arkansas was going to pull an upset because they're good for that, but they didn't do it. Next game up, Clemson and Virginia.
Clemson and Virginia was close for a little while, but, you know, Clemson just has more talent.
Surrendered 31 points, though.
Right.
The defense of Clemson. So just keep an eye on that. Notre Dame. Okay, Georgia Tech starting quarterback was out. I think this would have been closer otherwise.
Right.
But Notre Dame
started out fairly close, I think, and then they pulled away.
Notre Dame proving it, buddy. They're proving it.
And the defending, I don't think we can say defending anymore because they ain't defended nothing. Michigan gets beat by Illinois 21-7. Illinois is a pretty dang good football team.
And got beat up. I mean, they controlled. This is Brett Bielema. Same thing you did at Wisconsin. They're going to run the ball. They're going to do play action. They're going to play good defense. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. Look what happens. You defeat the team that won the national championship last year. Granted, not even close to the same team. South Carolina, Gamecocks.
This is ugly. Now, they had a close game with Alabama, and then where did this come from all of a sudden? They just whipped Oklahoma this week.
Mm-hmm. Not even a conversation. And then Michigan State over Iowa.
They gave up 40 points, followed by 32 points. What is up with Iowa's defense?
Not nearly as good as everybody thought. And last but not least, surprise of the week, in my opinion, Mark Stoops' vaunted defense at UK giving up 48 to Florida and a backup quarterback. Because your starter's out for the season. Starter's out for the season.
Goodness. I don't know. As an Auburn fan, I'm glad to see
Mertz, is it? M-E-R-T-Z? Mertz? He's out for the season. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but Florida's looking to the future, so maybe they're better than we thought they were.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they're going to have some help. They're going to have some help now because they got Florida State too. So they might break 500.
He's not getting fired this year. I'm blown away, but he is not getting fired this year.
Mm-mm. No.
So that was week 8. Thanks everybody for voting. Wanted to run through some scores and not break all of them down by the stats, but a lot of good football, and it's crazy. I mean, every week now we've got rivalry games. We've got teams upsetting teams that shouldn't be. It is really exciting.
And you know what else is exciting?
What's that?
The real top 10.
The real top 10. Week 8 top 10. Thanks everybody for voting. And why don't we go ahead and get it started? Number 10, LSU. They had a loss to USC in week 1, but they're rolling now, and they put it on Arkansas at Arkansas. But they got Texas A&M coming up this week, and A&M has kind of not been talked about, but they're sitting at the top of the SEC right now.
Yeah, A&M, Alabama. maybe Florida. Vandy can't discredit Vandy. I mean, it's not an easy road out for them. Not
It's
an easy
not.
road out. So, I don't know that LSU's a top 10 team, but they are this week. So,
Right. When I was ranking this, first few teams I felt were pretty solid. When I got down to about 8, 9, 10, there were a collection of teams. You got Notre Dame, you got LSU, you got Texas A&M, you got some of these teams that are just kind of sitting there competing for my votes there. It was very difficult when you got to about 8 or 9
this is
to
what I'll
vote for
say.
teams.
8 through 15, you could make a case for any of them to sit at any
Yeah,
number.
it's true. All right, LSU at number 10. Let's go to number 9, and that is Indiana. I had to create a new page for this one. This is the first time they've shown up for us.
Yep.
7-0. They
And
got
they got
Washington this week.
Washington, and Washington has not been good inside the Big Ten. So we'll see how that goes. And then there it is, Michigan State, a bye, advantageous right before Ohio State, and they close out with Purdue in the in-state rivalry game. So good for Indiana. I will be watching. I want to make sure that it wasn't just a fluke and my team sucks that bad. But who's number 8, Terry?
We got number 8, Tennessee. I don't know. I had them a little higher than this, honestly.
Beat Alabama. I had them right about here, I think. Beat
Okay.
Alabama, good for them. Rocky Top game. They've got a pretty good schedule, favorable on the way out, with the exception of
At
Georgia.
Georgia, that's a tough one. At Vandy is. I
And
got
look,
to
if
tell you,
Vandy,
Tennessee at Vandy this year.
if Vandy wins, you'll never hear the end of it because that'd be
Oh my
Alabama
goodness.
and Tennessee in the same
Oh
season.
wow, they got a bye week this week before Kentucky.
Yep,
Hopefully, Kentucky's pissed off because they just got beat by Auburn, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
very true.
Number 7, Clemson.
And they've been on a roll since that first loss, and it was an
They
ugly
have,
loss. They got whipped by Georgia, and they got
but
whipped by that Georgia defense as much as anything.
we've seen that Georgia plays up to the tough games, and I think they did that here. And that loss looks a lot better this week than it did last week.
Yep. And as long as they keep winning, it doesn't matter.
And then they've got Louisville coming up on the 2nd. Miami played close with Louisville. We'll see what Clemson does. It'll be good to see because there is no Clemson Miami game in the season.
Yep.
So that may be our ACC championship game, but we got other teams in the ACC like Pittsburgh that are sitting
Still
there winning
undefeated.
football games.
Yeah.
So we can't really say that. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Number 6, Miami, undefeated. And they got their rivalry with Florida State coming up here. They're favored by quite a bit here, but I don't know. Can Florida State get up for Miami? That's the question.
I
They've
will
got
save
talent.
I will save my comments about Florida State for when we get there because we'll be there a minute. Yeah, Miami is probably not a top 5 football team in my mind. You look at who they've played and where they're going. I mean, look, it's not just hating the U. There's 2 losses on this schedule they lost the game to Virginia Tech. They lost to Cal. They had help. And, so they're not going to, all the help in the world ain't going to get Florida State a win this weekend, though. So let's move on to number 5, Terry. Who's number 5?
Number 5 is Texas.
Yeah.
Drops from number 1 to number 5 this week after Georgia put it on them pretty good. And they're going to Vandy this week.
And look at Vanderbilt's schedule. We just said it. Tennessee, Alabama, Texas. I mean, we joke about Vandy being Vandy,
Right.
but they play in everybody. Texas is going to crush Vanderbilt, though. It's
They should.
Yeah, I mean,
If
it's going to be.
then we were severely wrong about it.
Correct. Yeah. And number 4.
Number 4 is Penn State. This is a team. It's like, where do we put Penn State? They keep winning, but they haven't really. What's their best win so far? They
USC?
barely beat USC.
Illinois. Illinois is their best win. Illinois is
They
their
did
best
beat
win.
Illinois pretty good. That's probably their best game.
That's their best win. And the reason I say that's their best win is but they did do it in Happy Valley.
Right.
But Illinois is still a top 25 team, and we know they're a very good football team. So
They are.
And by the way, this reminds me, Timmy C's joining us next week because Ohio State plays Penn State 11-2. So we will be joined by Timmy C of Filter Free Popcast for next week's show. I probably should remind him. Anyway,
He'll be like, "What are you talking about? I
Yeah,
didn't
the
say
game
that."
you picked, homie. Um, who's next, Terry? Who's number three?
Number
Pretty
three
sure,
is
yeah.
Ohio State at 5-1. 1 point loss to Oregon. They've got Nebraska coming up next week, like you talked about.
Yep. Yeah, the Buckeyes are a good football team. And
And they got a week to rest.
they got a
Week to
week to
rest
rest and
coming in.
recoup, but so did Nebraska, and they laid an egg, and so did Indiana, and they played perfect. So how you handle the bye week matters, and how you come off that 1 point loss to the now number one football team in the country, you know, at least in the AP poll. Who's number two, Terry?
Number
Is
two
it
is going to
Georgia?
be
Yeah,
Georgia. Yeah.
Georgia. They got quality wins. They got Clemson, Kentucky, Texas. No offense about Auburn. And actually, Kentucky, who knows if that's going to be a quality win by the time it's all said and done. Quality loss to Alabama in that you spotted them 28 before you decided to start playing football.
It's crazy because Mississippi State played them a closer game than Texas did.
Yep. And they got
On the road.
Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, Georgia Tech. So we figured Florida was going to be a roll. That may not be the case. And we know Ole Miss and Tennessee are going to come to play Georgia. So
That's right.
we'll see what that
Tough games
defense can do.
ahead.
But that week off comes at a good time for them, to be
It
honest,
does.
because it's right mid-season. Let them
Right after that
reset.
Texas game. I mean,
They beat the shit out of each other Saturday
oh
night.
yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely.
so
You need to rest up here.
no. And
All
number
right, and the number
one,
one team obviously is Oregon. They continue to
quack,
roll. They
quack.
got Illinois this week, and this will be an interesting game. This is not going to be a whipping by any means.
You said it. Since the Boise game, they have been on a roll. And even in
Yeah.
the Ohio State game, they never let Ohio State's presence or pressure, beat them. It was actually 32-31, Terry. You got a typo there on
Yeah,
Ohio State,
I
but
noticed that.
it's okay. But 35 to
There's
0,
got to be one in here.
they played your favorite, that Friday night Big Ten game this weekend, or this week. Purdue didn't have a chance. I mean, it was whatever. Illinois, a bigger physical football team, going to be a lot like Ohio State without all the pizzazz, because they're going to run the ball. They're going to control the clock. They're going to use play action. It's going to be a great football game. And then you can see the rest of the schedule. Not necessarily an easy way out, depending on which versions of three of those teams show up.
That's right. Michigan, I mean, they can come and play some defense at least.
Maryland
Offense,
can
no
play
question.
when they want to, apparently.
Right. In Wisconsin,
Yep.
they're a tough team.
Yep.
With Washington, I don't know. They've just kind of gone away. They lost all their players and their coach.
And their coach. And that matters.
Let me run it down. Number 10, LSU. Number 9, Indiana. Number 8, Tennessee. Number 7, Clemson. Number 6, Miami. Number 5, Texas. Number 4, Penn State. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. And the number 1 team this week is Oregon. And let's move on to week 9. And here's the games we care about. Friday, very late at night, 10:30. Boise State at UNLV. This is pretty interesting here. Boise favored by 3.5.
UNLV plays great defense. They lost a quarterback. They lost a running back. Doesn't seem to matter. They're still winning football games. I like Boise and their running game, though. If you can control the clock, you can wear the defense out, you can establish a line of scrimmage. That's all the rushing game really requires. Boise, to me, should be the team to take this one, Terry. But again, UNLV, the Rebels are very, very good defensively, and we'll see what they can do. But that running back of Boise State is unconscious with what he does. So I'm taking Boise, and I'll take him by a touchdown.
I think I'll take Boise by 10. I just don't think UNLV has it to compete with that running game.
And that's what does it for me. They're so good between the tackles and in space running that ball. He is so good right now. He's what, 1,200 yards, I think,
Yeah, I don't know I mean, he went over 1,000 a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure where he's at
So
now.
yeah, he's probably higher than that then. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
very, very good running back. Anyway, Nebraska, Ohio State in the horseshoe in Columbus, 108,000. Nebraska's going to lose this game by 24 points. But for the exercise, at least, but for the exercise here, Huskers by a field goal because Ohio State is going to overlook them and Nebraska is going to play the perfect game. Nebraska by 3. Because for my fans that love me so much, I will never change. Ever, ever, ever.
So last week, when I picked Nebraska, and then we had to pick the Auburn game, you picked against Auburn, and you said, "I appreciate you picking Nebraska, but I'm not going to pick Auburn." I assure you that I'm not picking Nebraska here. Ohio State by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. And that's really the real pick. But I'm never going to change because everybody knows 1995 touchdown Tommy, thanks to the media, and Ohio State got screwed out of the Heisman that was rightfully his to Eddie George. Eddie George is a great running back. He was not Tommy Frazier. And I've held a grudge for, nearly 30 years. And I
Oh
am
yeah,
not changing tonight. So anyway. Notre Dame, Terry versus Navy. Notre Dame favored by 16.
16
Um,
seems big to me, honestly.
go.
I know
You're
Notre
first this
Dame's
time. Go
good.
ahead.
I
Yeah.
mean, Navy's undefeated,
Hmm.
and Notre Dame is favored by 16. And these games tend to be close. 16 seems huge, but I think Notre Dame does win this game by a touchdown.
We're agreeing a lot, but I'm not going to be a fool and say Navy. I think Marcus Freeman's defense is very, very good. I
Yeah.
think the offense of Notre Dame has come along. 16 seems like a lot, but I'm going to say they do it. I will take 16, Notre
Mm,
Dame, because of the athletic disparity in the two football teams. That's what it's going to come down to.
okay.
Just there's too much talent in Notre Dame's what I'm saying. Just way too much talent. Despite the fact it's an away game, just way too much talent.
All right. Let's move on to the SEC. We've got
Oh my
Oklahoma
God.
at
Fuck
Ole
Oklahoma
Miss.
at this point. Old Miss by 28.
Yeah,
Big game lane.
I'm with you.
Reset. I mean,
This is not a
the
big game at this point
and this
at
was going to
all.
be a great football game. You and I circled on the calendar. We're like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
should have been.
Oklahoma, Old Miss. I'm taking Old Miss by 4 touchdowns because
Oklahoma ain't got it.
they ain't got it. They burned the red shirt on their quarterback, Jackson Arnold. Their
Goodness.
other quarterback turned the ball over 3 times against South Carolina. Old Miss is still a very good offensive minded football team, and Oklahoma is so bad on offense, they're going to force some turnovers. Old Miss huge because it's at home. That's the other thing, Terry. This is in Oxford, and those crazy drunk ass people are going to be loud, loud, loud. So I'm taking Old Miss big time, big time.
I'll go Ole Miss by 20.
I'm going 28. Seriously, 4 touchdowns. Give it. Illinois versus Oregon at Oregon in Eugene, number 1 team in the country. Terry favored by
One
one
and a
and a
half.
half at
It looks
home.
low at home. I
At
know.
home.
I can double check this, but I mean,
This is
this
the
is what
team
I
that
saw.
this is the team that beat Ohio State in Eugene. Illinois is coming, bigger physical team. They're going to run the ball, going to play sound defense. Got a great coach who knows how to win football games. Um, but I don't think he's there yet. I think in a close one, Oregon wins. So I'm going to take the Ducks by 5.
Okay, let me double check this line here.
It
That's
just
supposed to
seems,
be 21 and a half.
is it?
It is. It is.
Well,
Terry
I'm still
screws up sometimes. He didn't have a
no,
lot of time.
now that's disrespectful. Illinois is going to play them inside of a score. I'm confident with my prediction. Oregon wins, but it's by 5. It ain't going to be 21 and a half. That's a big number, Terry. One
It
and a
is a
half
big
was too
number.
low, but 21 and a half is huge.
I'll go 10. I got Oregon by 10 here.
I mean, it is in Eugene. I get that. But Illinois is a really good, fundamentally sound football team. I'm going I'm going by 5. Give it to the Ducks. Quack quack. Again, we're
So I
agreeing
do.
too much.
So I do deserve criticism for screwing these up, but
Yeah, every
I
once in a
spent a
while.
lot of time to
Listen,
cram these in.
Missouri drew Alabama in Tuscaloosa following the loss to Tennessee. You are not an Alabama fan, but what
No,
are your thoughts on the Tide this weekend?
I think Missouri. I mean, Auburn had Missouri. I know there was the quarterback injury. I just don't think Missouri is as good as we thought they were. And I know that Alabama is down a little bit, but I think Alabama by 17 in Tuscaloosa.
Damn, we agree way too much. I think Alabama's coming for blood. Give him. I'll take
We've said
24.
that before, though,
I'll
and it
take them by
didn't happen.
24 because Missouri is not the team they should have been early in the year that we expected.
All right, Florida State, Miami. I think we're going to agree on this one too, because I don't know which way you could go. I don't 17.5 point favorites, the Hurricanes. I don't know. I don't know what to feel about this one. Miami is undefeated, but like we keep talking about, they keep getting help from the refs. But does Florida State even care enough to make this a good game?
Florida State doesn't play well on the offensive line. They don't play well on the defensive line. They had 4 turnovers against Duke's defense, and Duke didn't have the offensive firepower to make them pay for it. Do you know who has the offensive firepower to make them pay for those mistakes, Terry? The University of Miami. This is at Miami. This is a 7 o'clock kick. This is an old rivalry Florida State has owned at times. Dave will probably tell me that Miami has always beat them, but I don't think that's true. I'm going Miami huge. Give me the Hurricanes by 30 because I ain't said it yet tonight. 30 points. Hurricanes are going to decimate the Seminoles because the Seminoles are that bad and are going to give Miami help they don't need.
I've seen Miami play, and I've seen how their trend goes. I think Florida State takes an early lead, and I think Miami ends up winning by 13 points after having to come back.
Okay.
All right, back up to the Big Ten. We got Penn State at Wisconsin. Penn State favored on the road by 10.5. I'll say I think Penn State by 17.
Camp Randall Stadium is a very difficult place to win. Penn State needs the signature win. Wisconsin isn't quite what we thought they were. They've already lost their quarterback this year. How many did you say?
17.
I think that's too many. I'm going to go with 10, but I'm going to go with Penn State because the defense of Penn State is legitimate. And they've had a week off. They've had a week to prepare for Wisconsin. They know what Whiskey's going to do. But it'll be a great game. And it's not, believe it or not, Terry, the game day game. None of those are. Indiana versus Washington is college game day game of the week.
Interesting.
So
Is
LSU
it,
at A&M.
where is it? Is it at Washington or Indiana? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Oh no. LSU at A&M. Another game that could go either way. But I really need Mike Elko and A&M to beat LSU at the home of the 12th man there in Aggie country. Please.
I don't think LSU's got the defense, but if you're about to pick, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think LSU's got the defense. I don't think that they can win in College Station because that is a very difficult place to win. This is not the same A&M team that lost to Notre Dame either. Their quarterback is back. He's playing well. Their defense is very good and will be as long as Mike Elko's the head coach. I'm taking A&M by 10.
I hate when another SEC team that we thought was dropping proves that they aren't. And that's what's happening with Texas A&M. They sit at the top of the standings, and I have to admit that another team is in front of my Auburn Tigers. What'd you pick them by?
10. I think home
A&M
field
by
advantage.
4.
I think home field advantage. Camp Randall, Kyle
Yeah.
Field. I think it's worth 7 points. Honestly,
I'm going to say A&M by 4. I think
but it'll.
LSU is probably a little better than we give them credit for, so that's why I'm going to drop it down to 4.
But make no mistake about this, guys. Anyone listening to the sound of my voice, this is going to be a football game.
It is.
This one right here will be a football game. Last
All
one,
right.
Terry. I'm going to go first. It's
Go first,
University of
please.
Kentucky and it's Auburn. And it's which Auburn and Kentucky show up are going to determine the outcome of this football game.
Can we make this 3 quarters? Be good if
Yeah.
we just play 3 quarters.
And look, I trust in Mark Stoops' defense. They're going to make it very difficult for Auburn to win. And it is at Kentucky. But the ball has eventually got to bounce Auburn's way. So I'm going to take your Tigers by a touchdown over
Okay.
Kentucky at Kentucky because the luck has got to change for Auburn at some point. And that's really my rationale because
It's got to. One of these games, I mean, they are in every one of these games.
something
Every
has
single
to
one of
break.
them.
That's what I'm saying. Something, I said luck, but fortune or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It has to go the right way for once. And I'm going to say this is the game it finally happens.
I think somehow, even though we have respect for Kentucky's defense,
Always.
somehow Auburn hits 2 big pass plays on them. Both touchdowns. Ends up winning by 4 points.
Yeah, I think this is a low scoring affair.
Yeah, I'm looking 20 to 13 or something.
Yeah, I don't think you're shooting the lights out on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, Terry, 17-13,
Yeah.
17-14,
Right.
21-17. That's probably about as high as it's going to get, 3 scores, from either team.
Yes, and we do care about Pitt and Syracuse, Bober. They just didn't quite make the list. Why they didn't make the list, I don't know. Because let me tell you, there's a website that has all the lines, and they pick 10 every week, and that's my starting point. And I go, are Auburn and Nebraska both on this? And lately, Auburn's not been on it because who gives a crap about the Auburn game? But we pull something off of there, so blame them. If they had put Pitt versus Syracuse on there, I would have probably used it.
Right.
So that's our
Right.
week 9 games that we preview for next week. Let's talk about the pick'em I have now, based on ESPN's point system, pulled into a tie, but I'm calling it number 2. Both Brian and I have 45 wins. He only has 32 losses, but look at Al's dad. Allison, you have got to tell this man he needs to vote because he is blowing everybody away by win percentage. 44-25, but he's in 3rd place because he keeps forgetting to vote.
Damn it, George. Get it
My
together.
goodness. And Bober is not on the list this week. Come on, Bober. You got to pick it up.
Yeah. Well, I am sucking at this, which is okay. I don't care. Somebody has to lose. I mean, Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, lost the pick'ems to his wife, and she beat him by 3. So, it happens.
All right. Is there
Ms.
anything
Terry.
else? Did we just almost finish a show here? I'm trying to keep up with it.
Oh,
Looking
yeah.
at the notes. I think we've done this.
And we're only
Another good.
we're only 7 minutes over, and Bober is right. This is something I will conclude on this thought, Terry, because it's becoming a theme. There's a lot of upsets happening in college football these days. A lot of upsets. I mean, I thought Texas was the most complete game in football or team in football based on what we had seen. And that defense of Georgia gave them all they wanted. And the reason I keep coming back to the defense of Georgia is because Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning gave them the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
They turned the ball over, or not.
They have not done that.
They did 4 times. They had to turn it. What I meant, that actually applies. What I meant was that, the quarterback, I just lost his name.
Ewers?
No, for Georgia.
Beck?
Carson Beck. Carson Beck gave Texas the ball 3 times is what I actually meant.
Okay.
And the defense still 30-15.
Okay.
You gave them 3 more opportunities, and you lost the ball. So, anyway, the point still holds. Georgia forces 7 turnovers and rescues their offense. That's all defense. So, and you know my thing, Terry. I love defense. Defense wins
Defense and run the
championships.
football.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I got to tell you, college football is changing. There are a lot of different team names in the rankings right now. And we can thank the transfer portal, and we can thank guys not wanting to sit for too long. That's why we thought Texas was going to be a cut above everybody because, Arch Manning was willing to sit behind Ewers, but the balance is there that's never been there before in college football. There is a balance of power, and you're not going to have these dominating teams dominating for years on end. It's just not going to happen, and it makes it better. And we got a 12-team playoff this year. It's going to be very open. We're not going to know what's going to happen like we think we did for the last several years. Dominance is just not going to happen for the same team over and over again.
Well, we predicted one team make it out of the Big 12. I know I did.
Yeah.
But BYU's undefeated, as is Iowa State.
Right.
Both very good football teams. And the teams you and I chose based on experience, players, and coaches are in the middle or the bottom of the damn standings right now.
I'm pretty sure he cut his mullet, and I think that's what caused it. I'm
Kinda
blaming that.
Kind of like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when the lion loses the mane.
Exactly. Or Samson.
Yeah, him too. I wonder if Delilah's been around old Mike Gundy. I mean, we know he likes.
Let's not put any rumors out there.
We know he likes to have a beer. Well, he's a man.
That's right, and he'll drive home.
That's so funny. Who hasn't had 3 or 4? Mike, you're not supposed to say that.
Oh, that reminds me of the Jay Cutler story. Yeah, we got the same thing going on with Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Is anyone surprised by Jay Cutler, though?
No.
It will be something when Alabama does not make it. Bober is such a hater.
But I mean, it is interesting though.
Hater.
They open up the playoffs, and we pretty much said Alabama will never not make it, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens the rest of the year, though, because everybody in the SEC has a loss. So who knows what happens next?
Yeah, well, I think personally, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas are your 4 best football teams. And I don't think it's close. I understand Miami is undefeated and Penn State is undefeated, but those 4 top teams have so many. If they're the 12th seed, Bober, they can make it.
We'll see what happens.
2 losses, they have no reason to make it. Well, they also have to play LSU and Auburn and Ole Miss and Oklahoma. There's a lot of football left to be played. And a 2-loss Alabama team is still better than 50 or 60 or 70 other football teams without even trying.
Well, speaking of the teams being ranked that aren't usually ranked, and this has been talked about by a lot of people, Army and Navy play their rivalry game a week after the playoff is set.
Yep.
This was always kind of a thing in the BCS with the computers because they set the field for the BCS before that game. And from what I understand, Army Navy is not a conference game because it's too late to be a conference game. It's crazy, but it is. I mean, that's what sets this apart. I'm not against it being set apart just because of what they are, but it's very interesting because if Army and Navy end up undefeated, both of them undefeated, that's an interesting dilemma for that game to be at that point because that game could factor into the conference champion that gets ranked for the 12-team field. Maybe they play each other in the conference championship game and then play again.
Yeah, it could.
Craziness.
Yeah, there's a lot of insanity in college football right now. That's kind of what I was saying. And I mean, I appreciate Bober's sentiment about Alabama. I really do. I just think Alabama is such a good football team. But they're not playing like it. And that's the ultimately what really matters too. You have
It's
all
because
this
he wore a
talent.
T-shirt on the sideline.
You have all the talent in the world. You still have to execute, you know. I mean, Clemson got dog walked, and I don't know that anybody said louder to me, God, this isn't a Clemson football team. Next thing you know, they're reeling off win after win after win after win.
Right.
That doesn't mean they'll make it out of the first round of the playoff, but they'll certainly got the ability to beat Miami or Pitt, or whoever is there a third undefeated team still? No, just those two. But anyway, doesn't matter.
SMU has one loss.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to because this back half of the season, Terry, is when stuff a lot of times gets real good. For instance, we're gonna see, after Nebraska takes that ass whooping from Ohio State, now that we're off the pick'ems, because that's what's gonna happen. I've been calling it all year,
I
but they
get it.
got
I get it.
they got Penn State, and that's gonna
Yeah.
be in Happy Valley. That's a big deal. And they've got to play Indiana, which apparently isn't just a
That's a
win.
tough one because you know
Yeah,
what? Google him. He wins.
he wins, and he meant it. But you got to love the hubris there. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I respect it. I'm not mad at it. So, anyway, we're probably 15 minutes over, so we probably should wrap her up. Thank you all.
Oh, we
Bober's
have
joining us.
to.
You guys have heard us reference this Mike Bober guy from Pittsburgh a few times this tonight. He will be joining us as well in November. Such a good fan, and we appreciate all that Mike does, even
Definitely.
as we rib him on the show, and call him an old man who remembers, quarters and pinball and all that, along with Palmwater Dave, so who's
All right.
already
Well,
been on.
thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, everybody that voiced their opinions. Dave Miller, Alex Wheaton, Mike Bober. That's the ones I see on the chat right now. I don't know if they're all still here. Thanks everybody for voting. Please continue to vote. This voting is going to get tougher and tougher every single week, and we appreciate the participation. George, pick your teams this week. That's the only person I'm going to remind. But anyway, as I always say, be a champ this week in everything that you do. See you next time, everybody.